Okay, I'd like to call this regular meeting of February 25th, 2015 to order. And I'm going to ask us all to rise for the singing of Old Canada.
Trustee Armour?
Present.
First Vice Chair Karkner?
Present.
Trustee Cram?
Present.
Trustee Garrow?
Present.
Trustee Bill McPherson? Sends regrets. Trustee Wendy McPherson?
Here.
Trustee McAllister?
Present.
Second Vice Chair McDonald?
Present.
Chair McMillan?
Present.
Trustee Richards?
Present.
Trustee Swan?
Present.
Student Trustee Sheila Cruz? Present.
Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda 3.02, 3.03, February 25th, as submitted. Moved by
So moved.
Trustee.
So moved, John McAllister.
Thank you. Trustee McAllister.
Seconded by Peter.
Seconded by Trustee Garrow. As you cast your votes, please. That carries. That carries. Thank you very much. Are there any conflict of interest declarations? And there are none. I need a motion to move into committee of the whole for discussion on agenda items 5.02 to 6.05, February 25th. Moved by Trustee Karkner, seconded by
Trustee McPherson.
Trustee McPherson. Thank you so much.
Wendy
That's
Mc-
Trustee Wendy McPherson. Yes, thank you. Cast your votes, please. Carries. Thank you so much. Again, we have two school presentations tonight discussing their school success plan. And again, these are part of the accountability framework and looking at one of our key result indicators. We've been doing this for some time, and for those of you that are joining tonight, it has always been such a wonderful experience for us to listen to what you're doing at your schools. And as Trustee McPherson had mentioned some time ago, and I know Trustee Karkner keeps repeating it, these wonderful presentations that I know you put a lot of time and energy into, please share them with your communities, because they're incredibly powerful, and you've done some great work, and so I welcome you to the board table. The first school will be Naismith. I'm going to get Superintendent Susan Edwards to introduce Gail Brandt Terry.
Thank you, Trustee McMillan. And through you, Chair, if I may just turn your attention to the Upper Canada map behind you there, and acknowledge the Algonquin, Cree, and Mohawk people whose traditional territory we live, work, and learn on. Just east of the border of our borders, a Mohawk community called Tyandananga, and it's my honor to introduce Principal Gail Brandt Terry, who is a member of the Mohawk community of Tyandananga and is principal of Naismith School. Gail has, in her years at I think it's 4 years at Naismith School, has taken the school to a new level. And as our director said the other day, if you haven't visited the school, you are missing something. Amongst many things, through Gail's leadership and commitment, many of the learning materials that Superintendent Val Allen and her team were making the decision to purchase for the full-day kindergarten. With Gail's leadership throughout, many of our kindergarten classes purchased for their full-day classes materials of natural materials and colors, and Naismith in particular pays very close attention to including the outdoors and the community in all aspects of the child's day. On a personal note, I know this is a personal note, my granddaughter, if I may, started her first school experience at Naismith, and she just loved playing in the outdoor mud kitchen and the outdoor theater. So Gail's school council chair has let us know that she's just finishing off a hockey practice and tournament, and they're going to the true Naismith style. They're going to have a social and be watching this on the web. So Gail, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the table. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. So Naismith, as Susan shared, is located in Almont, and we currently have a school population of 257 students from junior kindergarten to grade 6. We're an early immersion school, and we belong to the North Lanark family of schools, and we're currently in our 5th year of the full-day kindergarten program. As Susan said, we are really excited to have built an outdoor classroom that is just an extension to our students' day. They can move in and out when the weather permits to all the different centers outside, and these are some of our children outside playing in the mud kitchen. We offer before and after school care through the Almont Daycare, and we also host an early years playgroup on Tuesdays and Thursdays at our school. When we take a look at our grade 3 EQAO data, we were very encouraged with our 2013 results. We noticed our improvements. When we hit 2014, we saw a significant drop in our grade 3 scores. And this is a cohort that we have been tracking and providing interventions to, and we continue to provide interventions to them in their grade 4 year in hopes of improving the cohort when they do their grade 6 EQAO. If you take a look at our grade 6 data, we're really encouraged that our divisional efforts are paying off with our reading and our writing. We continue to focus on math and improving our scores, specifically improving our students' ability to problem solve, to have a better understanding of fact fluency and math flexibility. When we take a look at our special education students with EQAO, we noted that we have a significant number of grade 3 students that are performing at level 2. And in grade 6, we're encouraged that we have a significant number of those students also performing at or above the provincial average. And as a staff, we wonder if part of that can be attributed to that our grade 6 have greater efficiency and are more effective, able to use the assistive technology that's available to them. So one of our strategies is making sure that all of the children in our school have exposure and experience with assistive technology in hopes of having, when our grade 3s hit grade 6, that they are better equipped to deal with the accommodations that are provided to them. We take a look at our grade 3 to grade 6 cohort tracking. Almost 50% of our students met the standard in grade 3 and grade 6. We're encouraged by our students, the results from our students that did not meet the standard in grade 3 but rose to it in grade 6 with our reading and writing. And again, we note that we have a significant amount of work to do when it comes to our math scores. So when we take a closer look at our EQAO data, one thing that really stands out to us as a staff is the significant discrepancy that we have between how our boys perform as compared to how our girls perform, especially in the area of writing. In grade 6, 100% of our girls are performing at or above the average in writing, where only 54% of our boys are performing at or above the provincial average. In grade 3, 46% of our girls are performing at or above the provincial average in writing, and only 18% of our boys are performing at or above the provincial average. We also note that we have a significant amount of children in grade 3. If you take a look at our level 2 students that performed at level 2, a high percentage of them are performing at a 2+ or higher. That's a 2.7 or higher. So very close to that cusp of achieving the provincial average. So to address our gender discrepancy, especially when it comes to writing, we are really committed to providing more hands-on collaborative learning for our students that will further engage them in hopes that it will increase their comfort level when it comes to recording their thinking and writing. So what are some of these collaborative learning activities that our children are involved in? You can see some of our students when they were doing pulleys and gears in grade 4 this year. We're taking apart machines and toys and exploring the pulleys and gears. We just recently also held a hobby fair at our school that included all of our junior division, and our students had a chance to share their hobbies and do presentations for their peers and parents at our school. We also had a class last year that designed and built a butterfly garden to attract butterflies to our outdoor classroom. We've also identified the various text forms that are identified in the grade according to the curriculum, and we're addressing those specific text forms at each grade level, and we've identified where that will be held during the school day, whether it's in the core French immersion program or their blended program. So these text forms and corresponding critical inquiry questions are reflected in our teachers' long-range plans. The text forms include things like persuasive letter writing, essay writing, report writing, creating brochures, creating advertisements. Over the last few years, after careful analysis of our math data, we have focused on increasing our students' comfort level with using manipulatives to prove their answers, increasing their use of accountable talk, building teacher efficacy to support building our student efficacy, dispelling the misconceptions of gender ability when it comes to math, and fostering a growth mindset in our parents, our children, and our staff. Every year at our school, we set a school goal that is reflective of one of the learning skills. This year, our school goal is I Grow My Brain, and it's reflective of the Learning Skill Initiative. So every child in the school had an opportunity to identify what it looks like, sounds like, feels like, what am I thinking, and how does it change me as a student when I grow my brain. This was shared with our parents, and it is posted throughout our school. We also have an interactive bulletin board in our school, and we asked our children, what do you say to yourself? When I'm growing my brain, what am I saying? And we had some really insightful things posted on our bulletin board. Things like, I will keep trying until I get it right. When I make a mistake, I will fix it, and I won't worry. And it's okay if you make a mistake. We participate in a math hub every 6 weeks with 4 other schools in our board, and then we have 2 half-day follow-ups. This is one of our follow-up half-day hubs at our school that includes our grade 3 and our grade 6 teachers. And this is our students looking at questions that they had completed the previous day and identifying where in their work they're showing how they were connecting, how they're representing, how they're communicating, and where in their work they were lacking so that they could apply their new learning from this day as they continue to do problem solving in the next day's work. This is one of our little girls in grade 2 at another in-between math hub sharing her learning for the day.
When you already know the number. When you already know the number, you don't have to count.
These are our school success plan goals, and some of the ways that we're collecting the data and tracking our goals are knowing that if we're engaging our students more, we're going to see improved results in our report card marks as well as in our EQAO scores. When we talk about developing consistent communication practices or behavioral expectations across the division or school, one example of this is that we have a consistent feedback form that our junior teachers share with their children and identifies for them that they're getting there, not yet, or they've got it, and then giving them specific feedback on what they need to do to improve their work. We are also tracking student surveys. We're tracking the partnerships that we have established with our school, our parent satisfaction surveys, and the number of volunteers that we have in our school to support our students' learning. And my apologies, up in the top right-hand corner in each of the slides is the critical success factor that we are demonstrating in each slide. So my apologies, we're almost through the slideshow now. So what are the strengths that we do at our school? We provide tiered interventions. That means that we are providing universal, sound, research-based teaching strategies to all of the students at our school. We also are providing targeted interventions to groups of children, and we also provide individual, intensive, explicit teaching that's tailored to individual needs at our school. We have the Empower program and a variety of hub programs. And we've also really focused on increasing student and parent engagement by having a variety of activities and events at our school to bring our families into the school. We've also developed service standards of excellence that was driven by our students, and we have our students assess us to tell us how we're doing on meeting those standards of excellence. Our focus is to build and sustain trusting relationships with staff, with our children, with our parents, and with our school community. I'd like you to meet Hallie and Cameron and Kira. These are three of our student leaders at our school, talking to you a little bit about student voice at our school.
And I'm Hallie. We are co-leaders at Nathan. We're here to talk to you about student voice. Every year the grade 6s leave our legacy. We make sure all kids have lots of opportunities to participate in sports clubs, on sports teams and in clubs. We make sure all kids can share their opinions. Our holiday shop has been running for 3 years because the student council decided they wanted to raise money for our school. This year we raised $1,482. Last year the grade 6s made a buddy bench with the money from the holiday shop for if you need a friend, and the year before that they bought big rocks for our outdoor classroom. We will be deciding what we will be purchasing for our legacy soon. We have a great house team. We hope everybody feels included. We are trying to do lots of fundraisers so we can buy a new play structure for the kindergarten. Every year we have a primary musical so the grade 3s can perform. We have spirit days where everybody wears the colors or costumes the spirit day committee has planned. Every year the grade 6s leave a picture and tips for the other children. The tips are usually if you have friend problems, what you should do. We have WITS to help the kids if they're frustrated kids. That is W, walk away, I, ignore, T, talk it out, and S, C, help. Thank you. My name is Kira and I'm on PALS at Naismith, and I love it. I've been on PALS for 3 years now. I think we need PALS at Naismith because sometimes the younger kids don't have anyone to play with, and they can just come over to PALS and we will play with them. PALS is a playground helper. It lets everyone play and have fun. Our motto is, there is always room for one more. PAL stands for Peers as Leaders on the Schoolyard. I am proud to be a PAL because I like to see all the kids having fun and everyone playing together. Thank you.
So what are the things that we need to do at Naismith? We need to continue to engage in a variety of professional development and collaborative inquiries as a staff where we are keeping student work as our main focus, using that to guide us in where we need to go next. We need to increase our opportunities for all of the staff to be able to co-plan and co-teach together, and we need to provide a variety of inquiry learning that is going to engage our students, keep them engaged, and help them to perform at their personal best. What are some of the things that we're doing differently? We use our student voice to guide us in improving student learning. We have a variety of opportunities for our staff, whether that's our teachers that are involved in our variety of hubs, our professional development component to all staff meetings that includes ministry monographs and videos to share best practice. We also have small group intervention with grade 3 level 2 students to support increased student achievement. All of our staff are involved in creating our school success plan, and all are responsible for bringing evidence of their efforts to the table. Our school council is very actively involved in our math focus, helping us to run our family math night that we held back in October, where we invited our families to come in, have dinner with us, have a chance to hear all of how we are sharing and teaching math at our school. And then our parents went off with their children into a variety of activities and did some creative problem solving with their children. At the end of the night, all of our families left with a bag of math manipulatives and a variety of math activities to do at home with their children. We'll be holding another math night in the spring called How Can Art Be Math? We also really use our parents to give us feedback on how we can refine and communicate better. And we're finding Facebook is a really powerful way to keep our parents informed, to celebrate our learning, and to increase public confidence. And we're excited as a school to have My Family Room be another platform for us to be able to share information with our community. Some of the other things we're doing differently that include using our student voice. We co-create at-a-glance sheets with our students that have special needs to make sure we know what they need from us to help them do their very best, and we ask them how we're doing on it. We've created brochures by our students, for our students. Our grade 4 students have created brochures for our grade 3s that are moving into grade 4 to tell them what life is like as a junior student. And our grade 1 students have done the same thing for our kindergarten children moving into grade 1. We also have staff that is actively committed to professional development in math. We had a variety of us completed the online Stanford University How to Teach Math course this summer, and a variety that have taken additional qualifications in math. We are also a Safe Travels Pilot School, where we're promoting fitness and healthy active living in our building many community partners. So we are committed to building and sustaining strong community partnerships, which includes things like the Almont Curling Association, the Almont Broomball Association, the Horticultural Society has been actively involved with our outdoor classroom. We are very proud of our music program that we have at our school. And if you take a look at some of the quotes from our families and some of our students from our parent satisfaction survey back in December, one of our parents said, "We create a welcoming and supportive environment where all children can develop. We instill a sense of community for both students and families, including the responsibility that we have towards one another." When we asked our students back in June how we were doing with our standards of excellence, one of the things that they said we could do to make our school even better, give us more time to think through the hard questions. Give us more music, more gym, and more math. And honestly, math was in capital letters. So that was really exciting for us. These are our Naismith Singing Nighthawks. Back in the fall, they decided that we had to have a school song that they wanted to perform at all of our celebration assemblies. So they wrote with our wonderful music teacher this song about Naismith. Thank you.
Well, Gail, thank you very much. I know the next time I'm passing through Elma, I'm going to pop in. I'm going to open it up to questions and comments. The trustees that are on the phone lines, I have 5 of you on the phone lines tonight, and sometimes that can be quite difficult to navigate. So I'm going to ask you, if you want to speak, just say your name first, and then I'll be able to address you at that point. So comments or questions on the presentation? Trustee Cram.
Through you, Chair, I do hope you come to Almont and look at Naismith School and go in and visit it. It certainly is a very vibrant school. I can attest to that personally because my own son has his house right backs onto the field of Naismith, and I live within 3 blocks of that particular school, and it is very, very vibrant. I'm impressed with the parent participation in the school. The family night, math night that I did attend, the gym was full, absolutely full, and I don't think there was any room for anybody else to come in. And when they did their Christmas concert, they had to do 2 back-to-back presentations to allow the parents to actually have access to the concert. So I commend you, Gail, with what the staff is doing at the school, and it's really great.
Thank you. Other comments? Questions? Anyone on the telephone lines?
Yes, I wouldn't mind making a comment if I could, please.
Trustee McAllister, go ahead.
Gail, congratulations to you, your staff, and the school council. I certainly echo the comments of Trustee Cram. I guess one of the tasks that we have as trustees is to manage the resources that are given to us. I'm going to ask you a very open-ended question. Is there anything that you need to make your job easier and to make your students succeed better?
You know what? I really appreciate the support from our senior administration as well as from Trustee Cram. All I really need is the continued support, and when I have the hard things that need to be answered, to be able to go to somebody and say, this is what's going on, this is what we're trying to do, this is what I think we would like to try, can we have your support? And I've always felt incredibly supported by our senior administration.
Well, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions?
Yeah, Peter,
Go ahead, Trustee Garrow.
through you, Chair. Gail, I guess what I'd like to is maybe invite you down to Akwesasne sometime. Coming down, visit our schools, and also I'm going to see if I can arrange a visit from some of our people, maybe come visit your school. I'm a little concerned, of course, when I see the math scores, but I look at from the grade 3, but when I look at the grade 6, it's incredible how you're doing well, and I know you've got a lot of things in place to correct that. But I just want to give you an invitation and welcome aboard, as we say. Egos Konagoaga.
Thank you, Trustee Garrow.
To you,
Comments?
Chair. Thank you very much. I would love to come down there.
Thank you.
Trustee Kartner.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Gail, for the presentation. And I have a question about your school success plan. The third question, or the third statement says, we promote our school as a high-performing school. Can you give me some examples of how you do that, other than bringing the parents into the school for the math hubs, or the math nights?
Through you, Chair, forgive me. So how we are promoting our school as a high-performing school, I have found Facebook to be probably one of the most valuable communication tools. I've been in education for 24 years. This is my 12th year as an administrator. To be able to share and to help to instill that public confidence in what we're doing at our school. So I use it as a really broad base to promote what we're doing at our school. And our top hit was 3,997 views from one of our students that did a speech about having a brother who was in a wheelchair. So I think bringing the parents into the school, communicating what is going really well at the school, being really honest about the things that we know that we need to work on as a staff, helps to instill that confidence and helps to promote the things that we're doing well at our school.
Thank you. Director, would you like to do that right now? Go ahead.
Gail, thank you very much for your presentation. And having visited Naismith School, well, not too recently, but in the last few months, I can certainly attest to the excellence in the school. What I wanted to acknowledge was your efforts on the math front and improving math achievement align very nicely with the ministry's math action plan. And one of the pillars or components of the math action plan is parent engagement. The ministry has determined through research that the involvement of parents in mathematics learning is critical to student success in mathematics. So I really applaud you for the work that you've done engaging your parents and as a partner, with your school council, being able to purchase resources, etc., but having them into the school and dialoguing about math. And of course, I recognize you do the same kind of thing through your Facebook site and elsewhere as well. So I think one of the keys at Naismith is their strategies and their goals and their approaches are very much aligned with the Ministry of Education. And that's all research-based and sound thinking. So I think that you're certainly on the right track there. But I certainly applaud you for the parent engagement part. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you. Seeing there are none.
Wait, sorry, I'm a little slow on my
Trustee Wendy McPherson, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gail, for that presentation, and I look forward to making my way to Almont to see your school. One of my questions is, what do you owe your success with the literacy in your reading in particular?
Through you, Chair. We've worked really hard to collaborate between our French teachers and our English teachers in making sure that when we identify the text forms and we talked about making sure that our students are able to clearly articulate their thinking, we've done a real focus around accountable talk at our school, and that's where the children are actively engaged in conversation, talking out loud, explaining their thinking, and before they have an opportunity to actually write their written responses or to do their writing tasks. And so I believe that that opportunity to engage in accountable talk both in the English program and the French immersion program has helped our students to improve their scores.
A follow-up question?
Yes, go ahead.
So you don't take part with any of the empowered reading or any of those structured teaching?
Through you, Chair. The Empower Reading program has been going on at our school since September, so I don't have a lot of data to back up that, but I can tell you that those students have improved significantly over the course of the year. And also, we do make great use of having some small group interventions. We have a lot of volunteers in our school. We have a number of retired teachers that come into our school, so we're really lucky because we have a really strong skill set there where we can do some really targeted interventions as well with our students around reading.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, any other last questions or comments? Thank you very much. Gail, thank you so much for your presentation, and I know that your cap, Ron Ferguson, had planned on being here, and circumstances has prevented him from being here. But so, Ron, thank you, wherever you are, for thinking of us. Gail, thank you, and I look forward to dropping in there someday.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. The second school is North Grenville District High School, and Mr. Cole and Mr. Robinson are here to join us tonight, and I'm going to ask Superintendent Coombs to introduce them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In 1999, I was a brand new vice principal with the board, and I had the good fortune of being appointed to North Grenville District High School. Now, a lot of principals and vice principals have come and gone since that time, and indeed, both my children are proud graduates of North Grenville. So, and in fact, they're in a brand new building over the past couple of years. But what makes North Grenville special is not the bricks and mortar. I think, as I've learned over the years, and as I'm sure you're going to hear tonight, very pleased to have Principal Derek Cole, Vice Principal Matt Robinson here tonight. Also like to point out the CAP, Nancy Hanna is here as well. Thank you for being here, Nancy. And I'll turn it over to Derek.
So I'm honored, and it's a pleasure to be able to present to you tonight about North Grenville District High School. So North Grenville as a community has often been recognized as one of the fastest growing communities in Eastern Ontario. It is a bedroom community for Ottawa, and we do recognize the rural heritage and the proud roots that exist in Kemptville. South Branch, Kemptville Public School, Oxford, Onredo, and Merrickville Public School are our UCDSB feeder schools. We do have a few schools that we get students from our coterminous board as well. We have approximately 500 high school students and 260 intermediate students. And that would make us the largest intermediate school in the board. We are very thrilled and proud to be able to educate our students in a building that's 3 years new. We have an amazing facility. As Superintendent Coombs pointed out, it's not the bricks and mortar that educate children, but we do have an amazing facility. We're extremely proud of our OSSLT results and our provincial testing results. As you can see from the slide, our results are in line with provincial results and have been higher than provincial results. So in 2012 they were higher, and more recently in line with provincial results. This is the next chapter, if you will. Because our literacy results are consistent with the province and we believe we can do better in this area, we are starting to implement a few different things. One of the projects that we set out on this year is a blended learning space, and I'm going to let Mr. Robinson speak to that?
Sure, yes. We're going to try to prototype a few things with our ministry and board provided learning environment. And with the move to potential OSSLT being delivered online next year, we thought we'd try to prototype with our grade 10 students at the moment. So we're thinking of moving it leveraging our MSIP and having all of our grade 10 students access this online space for preparation for the OSSLT, eventually moving to 7 to 10. So that's kind of our next step for our OSSLT, and hopes to glean some data from that to move forward.
Thanks. So as Matt said, we're excited about this development, and we see this in line with the ministry as well, that just released information that the OSSLT will be, it'll be an option to write that online in March of 2016. So we think that that will help our students prepare for that mode of delivery and writing that test as well. So in addition to that, we are going to have all of our grade 9s do the practice online OSSLT, and in talking with EQAO, that information is coming out to us within the next month, and we'll have our grade 9s write that practice OSSLT test as well through the online mechanism. Again, we're extremely proud of the EQAO math results that North Grenville has achieved. More recently, last year, our applied students achieved 88%, and our academic students achieved 94% success. So those are extremely beneficial results. And in particular, like that 88% of the applied NG students compared to the province is something to be particularly proud of. This in part, I mean, in no small part, is due to the fact that the math department is a high performing team. Math teachers open their doors every day at lunch to work with students. They offer extra help sessions Tuesdays and Thursdays after school, along with our student success team. And with admin guidance, our CYW, and our student success process, no student gets left behind. We do truly have a team that believes that failure is not an option. Our graduation rate, as calculated by the UCDSB planning department, is quite strong. In terms of our corporate goal of a 90% graduation rate, we have been at 90% or above 90% since 2011. And I think this is really the story of a high-performing family of schools, to be quite honest. The students that we get from our feeder schools are well prepared. And I think that it would be, it's in our best interest to share that they are well prepared to write the provincial tests and to continue their trajectory to their graduation at North Grenville because of the high-performing family of schools. So last year, for example, the 93.5 grad rate percentage. Again, student success process is key. CYW, learning resource support, admin involvement, and specific targeted interventions to help students that are not achieving. "16 by 16 is one of the critical indicators of student success, and the goal of having the 16 credits by the end of grade 10 is one of the key indicators that they will graduate on time with their cohort. We can see here that our results are fairly good. This is another aspect of something that we'll be looking at as we move forward at North Grenville. I believe our results are consistent or above other schools in our board in terms of high school results, but this really does seem to be the next chapter. It's interesting compared to the previous slide that we know that the students will get across the line with results in the 90s and high 80s, but we do need to dig a little deeper in grade 9 and 10 and find out what the rest of the story is and ensure that the students are being more successful in grade 9 and 10 as well. This attendance data was captured for October 2013 and again in October 2014. And you can see at the bottom, it's around 85% for both cases. Again, in comparing, North Grenville to other schools in our board, this is quite good. legitimate absences would be in here as well. So if school teams were out, that would be calculated into the attendance rate as well. So at 85% and 86%, we believe that's quite good. We do have a very rigorous attendance tracking procedure, and student success, guidance, admin is heavily involved in that. So along with the support from our special services counselor. Did you want to talk a little bit?
Sure. And moving with next steps, so our current snapshot, with the introduction of our board with My Family Room, we're going to try to use that program and get adoption within the community. Again, realizing that being a technology and not just being a tool, we still realize it's relevant and engaging environment that's going to bring our students and wanting to be there. So in that sense, we're going to take the My Family Room and the tools provided and trying to help that with our communication plan moving forward with attendance.
At North Grenville, we believe we have activities for all students. In the upper left-hand corner, you can see a couple of students in our African drumming after school for credit curriculum area. On the top right, you can see members of the Nerd Club. The Nerds and Graphic Club is a club that we believe is a real pro-social alternative club for students that are not necessarily into more traditional clubs. And of course, in the bottom left, you can see our championship football team. So we truly believe that we do have activities for all at North Grenville. We do have a full complement of traditional sports and athletics. As well, a few projects worth noting. Sarah's Hope is a project that former student of North Grenville once traveled to Africa after she graduated and came back and realized that she wanted to do something for the people of Africa. So in collaboration with our biology teacher, Phil Stover, came up with the idea of Sarah's Hope. And that started, I want to say, in around 2007 or 8, and that has continued. So every year, Sarah's Hope does, they do things like benefit concerts, they do different fundraisers, they host intermediate soccer tournaments within our school, which is a great utilization of engaging the intermediate students as well, and also to raise money for a good cause. And they add classrooms onto a school in Kenya every year. We also have Reach for the Top. We really do have a culture of student success at North Grenville, and in large part due to the open stance of the teachers. We do have a couple of after-school for-credit courses, so drama and African drumming and band. Just a little aside note, the African drumming group has done a massive amount of fundraising this year, and during the March break they'll be traveling down to Disneyland to perform on the Epcot Center stage at Disney. So this is a drone, and it's being piloted by high school students of the Nerd Club, which by having an event they call Nerdvana, which brings in about 150 students from across our board to play video games, card games, Dungeons and Dragons, different games like that. Generates some funding, so they purchased the drone with a video camera on it. I put this up for a few reasons, for a couple of reasons. So I'm really proud of the work that they do with Nerd Club, and I just thought it was a good example of how we're always looking to the future at North Grenville. Link Crew is something we're really proud of as well at North Grenville. Link Crew did originate in our school board at North Grenville District High School. It was a program that originally developed in the U.S., but was first brought to our school board at North Grenville. Link Crew is a peer mentorship program. Senior students apply to the program. They earn a credit as a Link Crew advisor, and they mentor grade 9 students coming into the high school. So for semester 1, they work with about 9 or 10 students all semester long, and they do things on a social level, but they also do academic follow-ups. So what that would look like would be the Link Crew leader sitting down at a table with different subject specialty areas and students in grade 9 working through their curriculum with a peer that they can more easily relate to and get their homework done. And it's a genuine peer mentoring situation, a really pro-social creation, and we're really proud of the work that our Link for Leaders do. So I'm going to go through the critical success factors, starting with communication. We have approximately 880 Facebook members. We have about 300 people following us on Twitter. We do have a school website. We also produce everything in paper as well for people who have said that they prefer that as their mode of delivery. We utilize Center Voice, which is the automated robot call out that we can broadcast to parents in the community. And we are looking towards developing our understanding and use of My Family Room. So we're going to learn more about that and receive some in-service on that as well. In terms of resources, we do have a remarkable facility. You can see a picture there of the brand new track and field facility that will be opening officially in the fall of 2015. So the sod was laid. That was a picture taken shortly after the sod was put down last fall, and we'll be able to use that field, I'm told, in the fall of 2015, so next September. We're really excited to have that facility. In addition to the field, there are track and field areas such as throwing and running and jumping areas as well, and the throwing pits. We believe that we use our student success funding and scaffolded ongoing support very well, so I consider that a critical resource as well for us, where no students left behind and no students fall through the cracks. I spoke about our caring adults. The staff is a very committed group of professionals, and they are very caring. They are a group of very caring adults. We do have a child and youth worker, and the students rely on Miss Copeland quite a bit to work through some of their challenges. They enjoy talking to her. She's a wonderful resource. Community use of facilities is also high at North Grenville. Kempville minor soccer, football, hockey, volleyball. We do offer the UCDSB kindergarten course has been taught there. The Upper Canada District School Board Principal Qualification course has been taught there as well. And it just seems that if there's an event going on, people do look to North Grenville to host their event at, and we're always willing to help out with that, recognizing our central location and new facility as we're able to help. So in terms of educational programming, again, the key process here is our student success process, where teachers bring the names of at-risk students forward to the student success teacher. We have weekly student success meetings with admin, guidance, student success teacher, CYW, and learning resource teacher. We do have very engaging math, arts, music, drama, science programming, which are all engaging and inviting. We have specialist high skills majors in transportation technology and health and wellness. A couple of numbers for you. The Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, we have 19 students on co-op that do qualify for hours under the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. And we have 3 students on dual credit, which means that they are also generating credits at a college at the same time as doing their co-op. We have 32 grade 9 students in French immersion, and we have 20 grade 10 students in French immersion. And we are an international hub school. So in the bottom left, you can see our English as a second language class, and that's students comprised of our international students. I think it's a very enriching experience for the students and also the students of North Grenville. And we're real proud to be able to have this opportunity at North Grenville. In terms of wellness, we have an active social committee that does 7 to 12 staff socials. So, for example, we've gone bowling as a staff. We've gone out for breakfast. We believe we have a good social, I'd say, relationships from staff 7 to 12. That is a bit of the next story. We are digging deeper on how we further develop the 7 to 12 school as one school. We're trying to encourage more cross-panel collaboration. As an example of that, just yesterday evening, the grade 11 and 12 science teachers hosted an event where the grade 7 and 8 students were invited to come in with their teachers and do engaging science activities. So they were doing flame tests in the lab and learning about chemistry. And there were approximately 25 students and I want to say 7 teachers that stayed to support that activity. So I think we're making some inroads there, but that is a part of the next chapter as well. We do have Spirit Days. Participation is very high. Students that participate in student buy-ins, like attending football games, they go to the games, they watch the games and support the school spirit. We have lots of link crew activities, and I spoke about our academic follow-ups as well. We do have monthly school dances, and the Student Activities Council is always conducting activities to generate school spirit. And they do have a knack for contributing funds to worthwhile causes, such as United Way Pancake Breakfast. We also utilize the Tell Them For Me surveys and school culture scans, which seem to indicate positive results as well. So in summarizing, we do have quite a few next steps that we are focusing on. Literacy is our next big focus. As I mentioned, we're prototyping the online test preparation tool for all grades 7 to 10. We're going to continue to leverage MSIP for provincial test preparation, including the OSSLT and EQAO. We're going to continue to focus on and recognize the needs of our learners from year to year, including the feedback that we get from student success. We're going to focus on credit accumulation for grades 9 and 10. And we're going to enrich our learning of My Family Room for attendance and communication purposes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, those of you that are on the telephone lines, if you would like to acknowledge, just say your name, and I'll be glad to bring you into the conversation. So,
Lisa Vaughn.
Comments? Is that Trustee Swan? Go ahead, please.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank Derek and Matt for the presentation, and Nancy for coming out tonight. I'm very proud of North Grenville. I think your EQAO is an example for many schools on the board to strive to achieve, and the fact that you're still striving to get even better EQAO results is something to be said, and to engage the students further. And I'd like to just congratulate your whole school teaching team and parents that support that. Very proud of the African drummers, and I'm glad you mentioned they were going to Florida, because I think that's great that from a hub school where they learned the drumming, that they're moving forward and still keeping with their African drumming, which is just phenomenal if you've never seen it. My question for you, though, is I have a couple, if I may. My Family Room and engaging students and parents on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, the numbers for the size of your school really aren't that high. So I'm just wondering, what are you doing to increase this engagement? What are the goals for getting the parents on board with My Family Room?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Lisa. We're trying to understand how we can utilize and leverage My Family Room ourselves. So as I mentioned, we're going to be asking for in-service and professional development in that area. And I've spoke to our staff about that as staff meeting already. So that is in the works. So I think a better understanding of what My Family Room can do by us as an organization and our staff is the first step. The number in terms of likes on Facebook, if you will, or Twitter is not static. It's been growing constantly since I've arrived. So I'm hoping that will continue to be the case. And I truly believe, like, if we show people the value of using that as a resource, then they will go to it and recognize the value and share that with other people. So the goal is to, when it comes to My Family Room, understand the potential, encourage people to partake in that service, and then show them the immediate value of us utilizing that service and communicating with them. So no question, those are the challenges that we face in the future. Good question. We're always looking to increase not only the number of people we can communicate to, but the mode of delivery that we can communicate that best meets their needs.
And Trustee Swan, you had another question? Trustee Swan, do you have a second question?
That's fine for now.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kirkner.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, just a comment, first of all, to the both of you. Quite impressed with the EQAO scores that you have presented to us and earned, the students have earned. And I'm very pleased to hear you say that partially responsible for that are the feeder schools that come into the high school. I'm just curious about, I sensed in your presentation that you're not totally integrated with the 7s and 8s into the 9-12 atmosphere. I don't know whether I'm wrong in reading that through what you've said, but it sounded like you're still working on that process. How long have you been a 7 to 12 school?
So North Grenville became a 7 to 12 school, that's 3 years ago when the new school opened, right? And that is a goal that I know, as I said, that we are working towards in earnest to do a better job at. I can tell you it's not a unique area of improvement for North Grenville, and like I just said, we are trying to improve it in earnest. So I would say right now there is a genuine increase in collegiality that you can see from different slides in the presentation. Where we get together to do professional development activities. We try to do that from grade 7 to 12. I think we're headed in the right direction when I see intermediate classes coming down to utilize the resources that we have. For example, the world-class fitness room that we have and weight training facility. So I guess I like to think really big, and I just see that as an area of improvement. Although we're doing a decent job at it, that is an area that we'd like to develop further.
Go ahead.
I like the comment you shared with us about what happened yesterday or last night with the science and the 7s and 8s being invited into the 9-12 situations. I think more of that would help as well. Great.
Director Patterson.
Thank you, Chair. I think perhaps Superintendent Allen can help me out on this one, but I know, I'm not sure if North Grenville is involved, but I know that there's a system-wide, there's a math strategy for grade 7, 8, 9 teachers. And I think that's an example of what we can do as a system to support the collaboration and integration between 7, 8, and 9. So I wondered if Superintendent Allen could just speak briefly to that.
Certainly.
And as I say, I don't know that North Grenville's involved. I just don't know the answer to that.
No, North Grenville's not involved in it right now, but last Friday we had actually our first showcase of that 7, 8, 9. It's a collaborative inquiry partnership, and the schools identify what it's math focused and what their need is, and it's an opportunity for 7, 8, 9, and 10 teachers to work together within their school setting, digging into to their inquiry or the problem that they see based on their data. And after the roundtable sharing last Friday, we said, oh my goodness, we need to do this with the other 11 the schools. So we are looking forward to that. So we'll probably be in touch. But it's that idea of those teachers working together, very similar to what you explained with the science.
Thank you, Trustee. Thank you very much. Trustee Kyle.
Derek, have you done any, through you, Chair, sorry, have you done any thought of any interpanel teaching where some of the 7 and 8s teach? For example, a music specialist could go up into the secondary panel, or the secondary teacher come down to the intermediate panel?
So through the chair. So we would give that consideration. This will be the first timetable that I personally build at North Grenville. So it would be something I would consider. I think that there are some opportunities for that level of collaboration happening with respect to the after-school for credit programming that we offer, the African drumming and drama, and also band for credit. But yes, I understand what you're saying, and it's something that we'll be looking at.
Comments, questions on the phone lines, and then go to Trustee McDonald in a second. Anyone on the phone lines?
Through you,
Yes.
Chair.
Mr. Chair.
No, I'll go with Trustee McAllister first, and then I'll go to Trustee McDonald, and then there was another voice, so I'll come back.
And it was Trustee Swan.
Thank you, I'll come back. Okay, Trustee
Okay.
McAllister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Derek and Matt, congratulations on your work. I have a question with regard to e-learning. And I know that, Derek, you are, one of your talents is as a techie, and Matt, you are certainly a specialist in e-learning. How are you supporting students who are completing e-learning courses at North Grenville?
Okay. Through you, Chair. That's a really good question, John. Coming from different schools across the board and arriving at North Grenville, recognize the need to implement a strategy. We have worked closely with our student success teacher on that to make sure that she's monitoring and tracking and communicating with other guidance counselors and teachers across the board to ensure that those students are being successful. So I would say that we've increased tracking by our student success teacher, and we've also ensured that they have a learning space available to do that within the school. The Learning Commons or the guidance area is always available for our online learners.
Thanks, Matt. Chair, supplementary?
Go ahead.
Matt, if I could ask you, what would be your estimate of the percentage of success rate
Yeah.
of students who are completing e-learning courses?
Sure. Through you, Chair. Trustee McAllister, I know we've chatted about this in the past, and mode of delivery and dependent on which program we're talking about. So we do have a day school online program through Superintendent Allen, and the success rates through that, and Superintendent Dawes is aware of this as well, are above our corporate goal. So we're about 93% in our day school online program delivery in our system. Specifically at North Grenville, we do offer 2 this semester in day school online programs. And being as a vice principal and administration at the local level, it's very interesting to help with the pedagogy and the online delivery of those teachers delivering that. We do also have our continuous intake program through our TR Leger. We access that given a case and need be. We don't at North Grenville access that as much as on a needs basis, so we do not access that as much. We consider the face-to-face to be our optimal option, and then moving to day school online as a next potential, and moving to TR Leger continuous intake. The success rates in that program are not as good just due to the nature of the instruction, mainly because it's a marked online course.
Thank you.
Chair, my one more supplementary?
You're pushing it, Trustee McAllister, but I'll let you have one more.
Thank you. Matt, how could that success rate be improved, in your opinion?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Trustee McAllister, I think each school, and as the online program and online world develops, I think there's definitely a niche for local schools, high schools, to definitely have the conditions for learning to improve. So as mentioned right from the beginning, the tracking, so some steps we've taken at North Grenville is to utilize our student success area. We do have a Learning Commons area with our Learning Commons informationists being able to be present for supervision. I know that's been a central focus as well through Superintendent Allen to look at ways that we can increase the focus of the students that are at a home school and the teacher that may be delivering at a host school. So that is, I think, one thing centrally that Superintendent Allen and Principal Hummel are looking at. And I think that caring adult being present is always the key.
Thank you very much. Trustee
Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to focus on a couple of things, and certainly your EQL results are better than the province by most standards. However, your OSSLT seems to be dropping, and I know that both of you individuals are fairly new to the school, but how can you comment, or what's the strategy to address that? It seems to have almost 10% drop over the 3 years that we see here. So what strategies do you have in place right now to address that?
Yeah, so through the chair. So that is a noticeable trend. We all recognize the fact that every cohort is different, and it really is an impossible target when you compare previous year's results to those previous year's results, because the kids are not the same. And I know we all recognize that. As I mentioned in the presentation, I think the key is to actually pay attention to the learners in front of you that cohort year, and determine through whether it's pre-test or feedback that you're receiving from their teachers, their other student success results brought forward by the student success team, and come up with a targeted intervention for that particular group of learners. So we believe that, the group of learners that we have in front of us right now, one of the strategies that we think would be of advantage to them is the blended online environment that we're going to utilize. It is a prototype. I think that's another key too, that we are doing something about it, and that we hope to get more information and feedback from the students about how effective that tool is. Go ahead.
So just to stay on EQO for a second, and you've talked, and certainly I acknowledge the fact that it is a different cohort every year. And you talk about your math results, and the success of the math results is partly due to the feeder schools. So how effectively, or do you use the EQO results to determine the results of those individuals that are being fed into your school? Do you work with that data that's provided by EQO to assist you when the children are entering your school in grade 7 and 8?
Sure. So through the chair. So yeah, really good question. We do utilize the results. So we do look at the grade 3 and 6 provincial testing results. So that does happen. We also do, as a math department, they do look quite heavily at the results the students are achieving in their own classes. No question, right? And then they do early intervention strategies. So if they notice the students are not performing well on a certain aspect of the EQAO test, for example, multiple choice as a strategy, they would then make that a focus to continue with the students. This year we recognized there were some gaps in the understanding at the applied level students in terms of their readiness to write the EQAO, so we intervened by leveraging MSIP and having a teacher come in and actually teach that group of students those lagging skills, particularly only at the applied level during MSIP, and do that extra bit of work with them during that time.
Just a couple more questions. Your graduation rate, 93.5 last year. What's the goal?
100?
In the coming year?
I wish every student was successful. So, sorry, through the chair, I apologize. I would like to see every student be successful. I know we have the 90%. I know that every teacher and educator in our system, every principal and every member of the senior team knows it's 90%, but we wish it was 100. I want it to be as much as possible is the answer. And I don't want kids to be unsuccessful. So as high as that number can possibly be is the target.
So I lied. Two more questions, just to follow up to that one then. There's nobody else here, so.
Don't be pushing that.
To that point, I don't know, maybe you did tie it in and I missed it, but so you've got 93, you want to hit 100. The pieces that you have before this slide, how effective are those to help you get to 100? You spoke briefly to each slide about your attendance, your 16 by 16. What's the tie-in?
Through the chair? I think the tie-in is that we don't let kids slip through the cracks. I really do, whether it comes to OSSLT, EQAO, credit attainment, credit accumulation, overall well-being and student mental health. We do pick that up, and our process is something I am extremely proud of. Admin's involvement is quite high, so both Matt and myself, and more recently with Jeff Curtis coming on board, our collaboration we find is the key, and involvement. So I believe that we have the processes in place that will allow us to achieve those results. Okay.
Final question?
Yeah, for now.
You got that on record? Go ahead.
For this round. So, what it seems like you have the necessary KPIs to make sure that your students aren't falling through the gaps in our successful in their high school journey. So that's I guess the tie-in, as you said, you've got those indicators in place. You've got a slide that indicates your next steps. Those next steps, how does that align with your school success plan? Your goals and your school success plan?
Right. Okay. Through the chair. So those are going to become the new goals of the student success plan. So again, the school success plan, I don't view that as a stagnant piece of paper that you put goals down on and say, okay, we're going to do that. I think that's something that needs to be modified quite heavily based on the needs of the learners, again, in front of you. And since we've got there, I think we're to the point now in working with the teams at North Grenville that we do recognize the areas of improvement. And so those are going to become the goals of our school success plan. And I've spoken to the staff about this. I've done this presentation as a pre-activity to presenting here with our staff, and they also recognize that this is the area that we're going to be heading in professionally.
Thank you very much. Trustee Swan, you had another question?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. The other point I just wanted to question on is, you said in your presentation that there were 30 students in the grade 9 cohort in French immersion and 20 in the grade 10 cohort. And I know this is a problem throughout our board that we're losing French immersion students in the secondary years of school. And I'm just wondering, has North Grenville got any plans in place? I know the board is working on it as well, but to keep these students in French immersion, especially with your close proximity to Ottawa.
I'm going to have Principal Cole answer that in a second. I know that is also going to be answered in great detail in another presentation a little bit later. I'll allow the answer here. Go ahead.
So through the chair. Yeah. So Trustee Swan, that does seem to be a trend. It is an area of concern. I guess I would hope that with the release of the new French curriculum and the goal that it's supposed to be 70% oral communication based now and less about pen and paper, that would be a more engaging format of delivery and a different model that students would benefit from in their acquisition of the French language. So I think that we've seen a real move by the ministry as well that we've adopted, and I know our board has provided in-service on to our teachers. That I'm hoping that will help us a long way with respect to that. There are several challenges that students would encounter that would result in that. For example, students that have a more math science focus as they go through high school and they have specific courses that they have to take, it becomes harder to take some of the optional courses, so they have decisions to make. But with careful planning and our guidance support, we can still make the pathway happen for the 10 French immersion credits. So I think it's a complex answer. I'm going to leave you with those two thoughts for now, but I can tell you that we recognize that trend as well and are genuinely interested in figuring out better for students how they can continue in the French pathways.
And I appreciate that answer, and I think we're going to delve deeper into that a little bit later. So thank you so much. One thing I learned, I'm just going to end the conversation now, but one thing I've learned tonight, and actually through a lot of presentations, I float around on Facebook quite a bit, but I don't click like very often. I think I got to start clicking like, because it seems to me that seems to be an indication of something. And on a very honest level, to me it doesn't matter how many likes you have, because it doesn't mean that I might look at it and just not click like. Having said that, I'm going to start clicking like on everything, guys. Your cap, Nancy Hanna, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate that. Derek and Matt, excellent presentation. We really appreciate it. So thank you. And one last note, watching all the presentations, one of the things that we're very concerned about at the board table is branding. And I've noticed on both presentations tonight, and I've probably noticed them on others and just didn't comment, is we see the Upper Canada symbol on all of these. And I know if you take these to your communities, it's again, is promoting the branding that we want. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on their agenda is the annual occupational health and safety report. And I'm going to have Dennis Kulik come forward, but I'm going to ask Nancy Superintendent Barclay if she will introduce Dennis to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is new to some trustees, but those who were here last year will recall that we've had a practice of presenting annually to the Board of Trustees the results of worker injuries, always with the hope that there are few of those for the previous fiscal year. So Dennis Kaluk, our health and safety specialist, is here for his second time, and will provide a presentation on the 13-14 results, and then we'll be here as well to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is I'll be going through the presentation, the report here. You also have a more detailed analysis of these numbers that have been given to you. So on the first page, if I get this right. Here we go. Got it.
Okay.
So we'll be sharing on the agenda here, we'll be sharing the health and safety results from last year, 2013-14 school year. Specifically the workplace accidents, work-related injuries in the workplace. Note there, oops, I went too far. There we go. So the note there is that the board experienced a reduction of lost time injuries and no lost time workplace injuries. That's under the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, or WSIB, accident claims for last year. It's an indication of an effective health and safety program. So we'll be going through some of those results here shortly. We'll also be talking, as we go through the presentation, to highlight some learning points and to share some action plans. So this slide talks to the lost time accidents from last year. We saw a decrease from the previous year by 39%. That's the fifth straight year the board's lost time accident rates has remained below the peer group average. And our peer group is, as noted up there, is the large group of payroll considered under the school board's Cooperative Inc. clients. We're also looking at frequencies here, and that's the number of accidents per 100 staff. So if you look at the graph below there, you see for 2013-14, the school board listed, our board listed at 1.01, and our peer group, which is an indicator of how we're doing, is at 1.88, so well below them. Lost time accidents, again, is an indicator of accident severity, potential loss due to loss of earnings due to work-related injuries or illness, so time off work. And we look at here too the total number of lost time accidents compared to the frequencies. So on the left-hand side of the column, you see the accident, the actual incidents that took place. As far as lost time accidents go, last year we had 31. We're looking at here too is at the board, lost time accidents have decreased across all employee groups, but also in particular elementary teachers reduced by 46%, educational assistants reduced by 42%, and custodial maintenance reduced by 13%. So some good reductions there. And we're moving into no lost time accidents. So this is an accident took place, but there was no lost time. People didn't lose time from work because of the accident, so less severe. So we saw a decrease last year from the year before by 29%. And you see at the bottom graph there, our frequency is 1.92, and our peer group was at 2.33. As far as specific incidents go for no lost times, last year we had 59 incidents.
And we saw a reduction on no lost times, in particular with the elementary teachers, reduction of 46%, custodial and maintenance at 27%. Next, we're looking at the combined total accident frequencies, and so this is the combined numbers, so lost time and no lost time. It's our lowest in 5 years, and we're sitting at, you see in the graph up there, at 2.92 compared to our peer group at 4.22. So we look at the type of accidents, so that's a reduction, by the way, of 33%. When we look at the types of accidents that take place, this past year, 2013 and 14, our highest cause of accidents was slips and falls. That was 30 incidents, or 33% of our accidents. Struck by and against was at 21. Overexertions and strains at 20. And at 13 incidents, or 14%, was aggressions in the classrooms. Now looking at the priority action planning, so from last year and then going forward too. So 2013, the board experienced a reduction of lost time and no lost time WSAB claims or accidents. In 2013-14, the focus was on establishing and maintaining health and safety programs that identify hazards in the workplace and develop and implement practical and sustainable solutions in those workplaces. This approach has continued will be continuing in 2014, this current year, with a continued focus on creating safe working environments for great learning and meeting legislative requirements, which is key, right? We want to make sure we're meeting the requirements of law. Last year, 2013-14, some of the projects we were working on, some of our action plans, were to implement health and safety awareness training. And that was a requirement by the Ministry of Labor in all workplaces. Just recently, we're about 85%. We're still working towards 100%. Obviously, that's where we need to get to. It's total compliance. And we're doing that by non-compliance notifications to employees and supervisors, and programs to address employees' return to works as they return from work to work, and also new employees coming in through orientation. Make sure we get them at the beginning when they start. We're also focusing on in-house training regarding health and safety awareness and accident prevention. In September, at our health and safety rep training, some of the things we focused on, which we haven't focused on in the past, but which we did this time, was student aggression prevention and de-escalation strategies. We also looked at safe workplace instructions and hands-on practical instructions, again, given the attendees users to take back to the workplace. The second item is Ontario Occupational Health and Safety Act requirements for reporting accidents and workplace hazards. We continue our current accident investigation reporting guidelines and enhanced focus on hazard reporting programs. Support current reporting of workplace hazards to supervisors. In this case, most cases, we're talking the principals and the VPs. Continue focus on monthly school workplace safety inspections and our monthly student aggression logs and our accident incident reporting in workplaces. And also collaboration by the Joint Health and Safety Committee with the Behaviors team to update our student aggression prevention programs, including workplace student aggression and workplace violence and incident forms. Training for health and safety site reps and administrators. And again, in September, our health and safety rep training, we addressed workplace safety inspections and provided hands-on and practical work instructions and tools to use in the workplace. And the final one from last year was the continued health and safety workplace inspection program, again, which focused on prevalent accident types. In that case, and we looked at the 2013-14 year, and those were overexertion, strains, and slips and falls. They accounted for almost 50% of our accidents that year. Additional criteria for health and safety inspection programs focus attention on potential ergonomics and slips and falls hazards. Joint Health and Safety Committee looking at updating to the health and safety inspection forms. We decided to defer that. In this case, last year we spent it, and this year too, we're spending time on just the existing ergonomic forms, making sure they're effective, existing health and safety workplace inspection guidelines and the forms, looking to address the slips, falls, and in the workplace, and focus on Joint Health and Safety Committee semi-annual school visits and inspections, and the monthly school workplace safety inspections. So the committee travels to the schools on semi-annually and does workplace inspections with the team that's in the school, spends time with them. In September 2014, again, at our health and safety rep training, we spent time on disability management teams. The disability management team spent time in ergonomics training, and also the Joint Health and Safety Committee facilitated, again, more hands-on and practical safety inspections for the health and safety reps and the administrators. This year, we've been spending time on 2014 and 15, focusing on identifying hazards again, implementing and supporting practical and sustainable solutions in the workplace, and following are some actions that we're encouraging the workplace to get involved in and to identify the hazards. So the first one is continued focus on monthly health and safety workplace inspections again. Again, that's just, as I said before, mitigating our hazards in the workplace, finding the risk and finding ways to mitigate those. Continue programs to address overexertion, strains, slips, falls, and struck by and against. Again, last year that accounted for just almost 70% of our total accidents. Continued and enhanced support by the Joint Health and Safety Committee for the school's health and safety reps and administrators during their semi-annual workplace inspections is a good time to do it. It's hands-on, it's in person. Ongoing training for health and safety reps and administrators to update and improve skills, and that happened at our September health and safety rep training. And how we're going to monitor this? We're going to monitor the progress in this by the monthly health and safety inspection forms for completion, and also the content of those inspection forms as they submit them on a monthly basis. We're going to track the lost time and no lost time claims and follow up where necessary. The second item is to continue injury prevention improvements to the science laboratories and technology education facilities and the programs by standardizing equipment to target safety. So we're looking at their ongoing reviews of tools and equipment to identify opportunity to standardize procurement for safe tools and equipment. And also what we can do there to monitor that progress is just do inspections for monitoring compliance in the workplace and track for any lost time or no lost time accident claims. The third item is health and safety mandatory training. So continue with our training for the health and safety awareness for new workers and for the new supervisors coming in, and ongoing WMIS training, and a newly updated health and safety board procedures. So we're updating the procedures too to go along with this training. And we'll just track that training and communicate any non-compliances to the supervisors and the workers. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions?
Trustee McPherson?
Trustee Wendy McPherson, go ahead.
I was hoping that I'm all new to this, and this question is more of a budgetary item, I suppose. But I wanted to ask, what happens in the case of a teacher slips, falls, and there needs to be a replacement, a substitute teacher? What budget does that come from? Does that come out of the school's budget, or does it come from their insurance companies or what have you?
Okay, I'm going to ask the director to answer that.
In the short term, the first 5 days of absence for a teacher or any school staff member is covered by the school budget, and after the fifth day, the expense is covered centrally.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Trustee Parkman.
Thank you, Dennis. I noticed in your graphs at the beginning of your presentation that we are indeed improving.
Yes.
And just a comment, not a question. There must be something going on really well that this is happening, and a lot of innovative procedures being followed. So you know where I'm going with this. We have a Trustee Innovation Award. Please look at your people out there and see where they fit in.
Never miss an opportunity, do you?
Never do.
All right. Any other comments? Trustee Cram.
I noticed in your report that you had one of your goals was to monitor and inspection forms for completion and the content of those forms. Do you have any data from 2013-14 as to the reasons for the increase to the slips and falls or that kind of thing?
You, Mr. Chair, yes, we look at the different types of slips and falls that we have. So we look at the accidents, and we also look at the inspections that take place in the schools. It's fairly, it's easier to look at the accidents, although they're lagging. They're not an early indicator, they're a lagging indicator. But some of them are they're varied for slips and falls, for one thing. We're looking at ice is one of them, slips and falls on walkways, uneven surfaces. But unfortunately, we have a lot outside too, in play areas, on even areas too, right? So there's not; those are the ones that are difficult to put practices in place to reduce that hazard. The ones in the school where it slips on water, we've had some of those too. So those are the ones I would say we have mostly inside the schoolroom or inside the classrooms, or inside the school, I should say. It slips on waters and slips on different materials. A lot of them are same level falls though, so we're not talking stairways. We're talking same level, so those are things that we can find and that's why we're driving the inspections. Find in our inspections to get them fixed and reduce those hazards before they become accidents.
Any comments, questions online or on the telephone lines? Trustee Armor?
Through you, Chair. Just a quick question. How often do we train our staff around health and safety? I am new as well, so I'm just curious.
Through you, Mr. Chair. When you say staff, I would look at, so we have annual training for our health and safety reps, which are in the schools, and the administrators in the schools. We do that every September. And that's a great opportunity to have them in front of us and focus their attention and our attention on the things that make a difference, like for inspections. And I know I say a lot of this, but inspections are very important because they reduce the hazards in the workplace. By reducing those, we reduce the accidents. So we spend time with them on those and give the new ones coming in some real hands-on practical information to take back to the schools and use. Our Joint Health and Safety Committee, we spend time with them, having them go through certification training. So when they go to the schools, or when they get questions from the schools, they can better do their jobs to help with them, give them tools to in the schools too. So 2 ways we're doing it right now.
Another question. Do we require the health and safety in the schools to have CPR training, first aid training, those type of things?
Not all the, some of the first aiders do, but that's not required for the first aiders.
Actually in the schools.
Yeah, it's required to have first aiders in the school.
Yeah.
But not for them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much. Now, Dennis, I'm going to ask you to stay there because the next item that we're dealing with is the annual review of health and safety policies 226, 421, and 424. And I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Barclay. And Superintendent, I'm going to put that in your hand, and Dennis may well be a resource, I'm not sure. So that's why I'm asking you to stay at the table. Okay, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dennis is an excellent resource because he understands all of this.
That was my thinking.
Yeah. You just didn't want to say that. So again, this is a requirement to come annually to the Board of Trustees to review these 3 policies, one of which, Dennis may correct me, is shared with the Human Resources Department. But Dennis will take us through these because he has done the work on it and has talked with HR about the policies.
Okay, so we have the 3 policies up there. The first one is the health and safety policy, and that's a requirement by law to have a health and safety policy under the Occupational Health and Safety Act in the workplace. We're looking at not making any changes to it, just updating the date this year. The second one is the harassment.
Sorry, policy 421, violence in the workplace.
Violence in the workplace, and that again is required under the Health and Safety Act. And we're not looking to make any changes to that policy this year, just update it with the date. And the last one is harassment policy, and the same thing, we're looking, it's a requirement under the Occupational Health and Safety Act to have that in place, and we're looking to just update that with the date. No changes.
Thank you. So are there any comments or questions regarding those? Okay, seeing there are none, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the 3 motions, one for each one of those particular policies. I'll need a mover, a seconder, and then we'll cast a vote. So the first motion is that the Committee of the Whole recommend that the Upper Canada District School Board document policy 226, which is safety workplace harassment, with a review date of February 25th, 2015. I need that moved by Trustee McDonald, second by Trustee Cram. Will you cast your votes, please? And that carries. Thank you very much. The second motion is that the Committee of the Whole recommend that the Upper Canada District School Board document 421, violence in the workplace, with a review date of February 25th, 2015, moved by Trustee Cram and seconded by Trustee Parker. Cast your vote, please. Carries. Thank you so much. The third policy is a motion that the Committee of the Whole recommend the Upper Canada District School Board document policy 424, occupational health and safety, with a review date February 25th, 2015, moved by Trustee McAllister. Was that you?
Garrell.
Yep.
Seconded by Trustee Garrell. Cast your votes, please. And that carries. Thank you very much. Dennis, thank you so much for your time and all the hard work you're putting into that. We appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on to 6.02, policy review. This is our ongoing policy review process that we have. Trustee McAllister, I believe you are enjoying the rain. This is yours. There are two policies we're looking at. Policy 307, which I'm going to ask Superintendent Dawes in a moment to address, and the other is policy 325, and I'm going to ask Superintendent of Business, Nancy Barkley, to deal with that. Trustee McAllister, anything you want to say to introduce this?
No, no, Chair, other than to thank the staff for their ongoing work on the review of these policies, and I think we are now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 10 or 11. So we only have about 4 or 5 left to go. So anyway, they're doing a good job.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Phil. This is policy 307, freedom of information.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. This is, as you suggested, policy number 307, last updated November 2005. Trustees will notice from the outset we're recommending a change in the name of this policy from the Freedom of Information policy to the Freedom of Information and Privacy policy. General intent of the original wording, I think, is in place. We've simply made a definitive effort to tidy the language up a bit to meet 4 main criteria. To make it clear that the intention of the policy is to confirm the board's responsibilities in connection with applicable legislation. Secondly, that the policy acknowledges that the availability of records and privacy protection is a mutual responsibility of the Board of Trustees, the Director of Education, the Information and Records Management Specialists of the Board, all staff, and members of the public. Thirdly, that the Director of Education or designate shall serve as head for all purposes outlined in the legislation. And finally, that the board will be informed of, on an annual basis, of formal Freedom of Information requests as documented in the annual report that is submitted to the Information and Privacy Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on that, Trustee McDonald?
My question is, why are we changing it from bi-monthly to annually?
Through you, Chair. It was our opinion that right now we're on obligation to provide that report on a once-a-year basis, and we thought that would align nicely with that particular requirement. But certainly, if it was the intention of trustees to receive more reports than that, we could certainly revise accordingly.
Just my comment, I think there's a requirement that we report to the commissioner on an annual basis, but I think from as a board perspective, we need to be informed on a more regular basis. Whether it's bi-monthly or not, I don't know, but perhaps we build it into a monthly or a quarterly type report. I think once a year is a little too long, and certainly it gives us an indication if there's certain things that are being requested on a regular basis, whatever the case may be, we would have some insight as to how we would look to deal with that if there's things that are happening within the communities. So I would suggest that we adjust that from annually to monthly, but open to suggestions if we do it quarterly as well.
More comments, questions? Trustee Cram?
In favor of quarterly, Chair? You looking to Trustee McDonald to make a motion?
Comments online, where the conversation right now on this particular policy is focusing with changing the time period. Any comments, questions on that?
Chair, I agree with the quarterly reporting.
Okay, thank you. We are going to be changing the motion slightly. Actually, we're changing the policy slightly. Are there any more comments or questions on policy 307 before I move the motion? Seeing there are none, I'm just...
Can I ask a question?
Trustee Kirkner, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, Superintendent Dawes, can you explain to me, within the framework of this policy is the mutual responsibility of the trustees, director, the people within the board, and then you say members of the public. Is that, well, what does it mean, the public?
Through you, Chair. Simply trying to clarify that it's a mutual responsibility. So when we get into freedom of information requests, there is actually a responsibility of those persons putting forward that request to actually adhere to the intentions of the legislation. So there are timeline requirements and related requirements as they relate to the legislation itself.
Thank you very much. Well, we're just working on the revision. Just give me a second here. You okay with that? Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder for the motion that the Committee of the Whole recommend the Upper Canada District School Board approve Policy 307, Freedom of Information, with revision as follows, submitted to the Committee of the Whole February 25th, 2015. And the board will be informed on a quarterly basis of formal requests under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and as documented in the annual report submitted to the Information and Privacy Commission. Moved by Trustee McDonald, seconded by Trustee Cram.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
It should read freedom of information and privacy. Yeah, privacy. That's the actual name of the policy.
Let me read that one more time to make sure we have this exact. Committee of the Whole recommend the Upper Canada District School Board approve Policy 307, Freedom of Information and Privacy Policy, with revisions as follows, submitted to the Committee of the Whole February 25th, 2015. The board will be informed on a quarterly basis of formal requests under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and as documented in the annual report submitted to the Information and Privacy Commission. Moved by Trustee McDonald, seconded by Trustee Cram. And I'll ask you to cast your votes, please.
I'm in favor, Chair. It has not come up. Oh, sorry.
It should be up now. But thank you, Trustee McAllister. Thank you. Okay. That carries. Thank you very much. And thank you, Trustee McDonald, for that input. Got it. The next policy is Policy 325, dealing with the cash management. And I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent of Business, Nancy Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This policy, named cash management, as you will see, has not been updated since 2006. And really, the changes that you see in the policy were triggered by ministry changes in regulations related to school board financial powers back in 2010. There were 5 regulations under the Education Act that were revoked, and 1 new regulation was created to encompass the financial powers. Specifically, in terms of investments, there really wasn't an impact on our practices, but the change in the regulation, now boards are not allowed to invest in riskier types of investments, in which we were not, so we didn't need to make a change there. However, the policy has been updated to reflect the new regulation 4110. The other major change, which the board will already be familiar with because we've been coming to the board for the last several years for approval to borrow long-term for our capital construction projects. So that change has to do with, in the past, boards could borrow long-term on their own with financial institutions and go out and do that. And now boards are required to issue debentures through the Ontario Financing Authority. There is an opportunity, if you can find a better rate somewhere else, the ministry will look at that, but that's not been something that we've looked into. We've gone along with other boards in the province who debentures through the Ontario Financing Authority for that long-term financing for our capital construction projects. So those are the significant changes to the policy, and as I said, some of them stemming back several years. The other changes in the policy are really updates, because it hasn't been updated since 2006, to more align with what is actually happening.
Thank you very much. I'll open it to comments and questions.
Trustee Wendy McPherson.
Go ahead, Trustee Wendy McPherson.
May I ask why? Is there any particular reason why we prefer to go through the debentures and follow what other boards are doing than finding our own rates through other banking institutions?
Through you, Chair. Well, I suppose there are several reasons. One of the main reasons is when all of the boards, and it may not be all boards every time, but when many boards congregate and go out and borrow a larger sum of money than we would on our own, chances are you are going to get a more favorable rate. The other opportunity here is that administratively, there's much less administrative work for us to do here compared to if we were looking for our own financing outside. So all of the structure is there, the processes are there through the ministry and the Ontario Financing Authority. The documents that you saw at the last meeting, right, where we approved, or you approved the bylaw for a set of debentures, all of that work and working with a legal firm to review it all is all in place, so I think we leverage that exists, and I guess those are really the two reasons. In addition, the ministry flows the money.
Right, I remember that now.
And again, that process is in place and works well for us.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have another question, if I can.
Go ahead.
This is regards to the credit cards at the last portion of it. Of those, I was just wondering, is that anything new there, or has it always been that those credit cards are out there? And is then when it says trustee liaison, is that a possibility of each trustee ever receiving, or is that? I mean, I don't know how that works. Why that wording is there?
Come on.
Through you, Chair. Trustee McPherson, no, that means that the trustee liaison officer has a credit card which she uses on behalf of trustees
Okay, now I understand it. Thank you. It's for Lisa. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more comments or questions? Trustee McDonald? No? Oh.
Let me just be clear. I'll move it.
Whew. All right, I have a mover. Trustee McDonald is going to move this, I'll come back for a second in a moment, that the Committee of the Whole recommend that the Upper Canada District School Board document policy 424, occupational health and safety, with a review date of February 25th, 2015. When? Oh, I'm sorry, I was back into, you threw me right off there. Let me go back to where I should be. I still believe that Trustee McDonald is going to move this. Trustee Cram is going to second it, that the Committee of the Whole recommend the Upper Canada District School Board approve policy 325, cash management, with revisions as submitted to the Committee of the Whole, February 25th, 2015. Ask your vote, please. And that carries. Thank you very much. I would have caught that as soon as I read the words health and safety. A little slow tonight, I apologize for that. Moving on to 6.03, back in, let me just get the date here. December 10th, 2014, the Committee of the Whole directed the Director to bring back a report in February on strategies to encourage students to continue in French programming. So with that motion, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Valerie Allen, who is going to give us a report on that.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thank you. Both at the provincial and at the local level, there's been a steady decrease in participation in French immersion and French programs from grades 1 to 12. And there's statistics provided in your report for that, indicating that it happens at both the regular program, students in the regular program, and students with identified special needs. So this data, along with the board's local data across the province, generated questions about why students were not continuing in the French program. Questions were being asked such as, what factors contribute to this data? Are FSL teachers receiving appropriate training and support to meet the needs of all students, all their learners? And what are the supports in place for the struggling learners in the kindergarten, in the FSL classrooms? So this information led the Ministry of Education to produce a framework for French as a second language in Ontario schools, and I have copies of the framework here with me if anyone wants a copy of it themselves. And that document is a renewed focus and vision for strengthening French programming in our schools in Ontario. In addition, at the same time, boards have been asked to submit plans, it's a 10-year strategy, but boards have been asked to submit 3-year plans based on the province's overall goals. And our board goals need to be specific and measurable and report the progress made towards these goals. And in addition, at the same time, over the past few years, this framework was released in 2013, and also in 2013, a new elementary curriculum for French was released, and this year, 2014, a revised secondary FSL curriculum has been released. The change, or a big change in the program, and it was alluded to in the North Granville presentation, is the focus on the oral language. And that strand in the new curriculum has been divided into listening and speaking. So that's sort of an overview of where we are at. And so you can see, it's not just a concern here in Upper Canada, it's a concern province-wide. So the educational programming, of course, French as a second language really connects to our critical success factor of educational programming. We expect high quality program in every area. So we need to, as a board, look at at strategies to support our French programming as well. So to explain a bit of the structure of where we're at, there has been a change this year in our French programming compared to past years, and I know trustees at the table have made a comment that there's only one person in the program department supporting French, and we've made some significant changes in that this year. The French program falls under the direction of our principal, Anne-Marie Beaubec, and we have a program resource teacher who also is working in that area. And we've also established several advisory teams that are board-based and have both teachers and principals on them. So we're really trying to create a groundswell of people who are well-informed and well-invested at promoting and involved in the French language programming. So the 3 provincial goals that I referenced are indicated here. So first one, to increase the student confidence and proficiency and achievement in FSL, to increase the percentage of students studying FSL until graduation, and to increase student, educator, and parent and community engagement in FSL programs. So I'm going to outline for you what we in Upper Canada are doing. And as I already indicated, for each of those goals, we need to have a 3-year plan. We connect with the ministry. We've already had our monitoring conference call with the ministry just recently, looking at some of the things that we're doing, and they gave us some ideas of ways to strengthen those. And then this process will be ongoing over the next 10 years. And hopefully we're going to see significant changes. So UCDSB's approach to our FSL goals. So goal number 1, about increasing student confidence and proficiency and achievement in FSL. As I alluded to, we have established a principal and vice principal lead team, or a couple lead teams actually, to learn more about the ministry initiatives in French and to support it and bring it back into our schools and to our principals and our teachers. We're also working at building awareness in the grades with grade 7 to 12 educators through a series of study days where they have a look at the FSL curriculum, the CEFR, which is the Common European Framework of Reference. So that is a recognized tool that's a valuable asset for informing instruction and assessment in FSL classrooms. And it's new in the province of Ontario, and we're really embracing it and engaging it. Again, it promotes assessment and the oral language. We're really looking at increasing action-oriented tasks, real-world activities for students, and emphasis on oral language and assessment. We're moving to a focus in our schools moving this focus into the elementary schools over the next 2 years as well. This year, every French teacher in grade 7 to 12 have been participating in these study days, and we have had great feedback from both the teachers and the principals about it's not just a one-up, it's everyone who's teaching French is involved in those. We have had presentations to principals by our lead team of our French goals. So the whole system knows that we have these French goals, and also an awareness of what is new in this French programming. We've had training in the new curriculum. We are exploring instructional approaches in French and what does teaching look like in classrooms. In addition, this lead team has also brought for principals some guidelines and some look-fors. What do you look for when you go into a French language classroom? Because many of our principals are not French language teachers or leaders, but they know what good teaching looks like, and these guidelines have really helped. We've been doing some training for our French teachers in the board, in particular in AIM, which is a program in the early years where they use sign language and symbols to help engage the students in the learning of the French. And we have been doing that program for especially for our new teachers, our NTIP teachers. There will be a follow-up training for that. And also we've had a team of teachers actually do that training for our DCs and our kindergarten classes, because if we are going to be promoting French at all levels, we need to grow that capacity of all the folks that are in the classroom. So it was sort of an overview presentation for them. We've been examining the data of French participation, especially in our secondary schools, and looking at ways to gather this lever data. And we're looking at gathering surveys, we're looking at the numbers, we're meeting actually very shortly with our research department and our IT department to see how we can extrapolate this data from what we already have. And then we're looking forward to what that means going down the road. We're going to be gathering the data on the enrollment of students taking core French beyond grade 9. We hope to survey both the grade 7 and the grade 9 students, asking about their choices to continue or discontinue in French immersion or in French programming for the years. I mean, we have some suspicions, we have some ideas about why this might be happening. Some of them I'll reference a little later, but we really need to talk to the students and talk to their families to find out if our suspicions are correct. We need to survey students who have withdrawn from the program in later years as well. Have they taken the obligatory grade 9 credit and then chose to withdraw it at grade 10 or grade 11 or grade 12? And there might be different reasons along the path. And we need to listen to these student responses to help us plan and develop retention strategies. So what is the lever data? This is data from 2012 and 13. So as you can see, there's been a significant drop. There were 2,094 students who studied French, core, immersion, and extended in grade 9, and 967 in grade 10, 522 in grade 11, 321 in grade 12. So you can see how significant that drop is. It's important to know at this point that the one high school credit that is required in high school, there is one grade 9 French credit that's a requirement in secondary school. So as we outline what high school looks like for our student in secondary school, of the 30 credits, as the outline shows here, 18 of those credits are compulsory. So already over half of the credits that they have, of the 30, have already been decided for the student, shall we say. Then, as alluded to by the principals from North Grenville, if students want to focus in a certain area as they go through high school, that can affect the courses that they take. For example, if they have an interest in math and science, it may be something they're pursuing, they may choose to take more credits in that area and allows them less flexibility to take some optional credits, including the French credits. The other significant factor here, of course, is the number of students wanting it. As we see the data that's dropped that I just outlined, as those are board-wide data, so then if you drill down at the school level, we might have quite small cohorts of students who want courses, and then we end up doing splits in courses, or we just don't have the numbers of students requesting a course to be able to offer a full section. But we're looking at some strategies, and I'll allude to that in a few minutes for that as well. So in our goal number 3, to increase student, educator, and parent and community engagement, we are increasing our level of administrator participation in our French initiatives, as I've alluded to. We are increasing the emphasis on the French programming in our board. We're looking at an advertisement campaign, and we are trying to promote it in our registration campaigns as well. We're looking at some ideas to redesign the French programming information on our board website so it is more vibrant when people connect with the website when they first go to register students. We're promoting the French programming as accessible for all, because it's really important to understand that French programming is for all students. It is not an elitist program, and there actually is a new document coming out that is FSL for all, ways in supporting all of our educators to support all students in the French classroom. Strengthening the visibility of the French language culture in our schools through increasing signage and having other visuals and other French opportunities at the school and in the community at community celebrations is another way to engage our parent community. And actually, the ministry provides the board with the funding to help schools do that. It's not a lot of funding, but it is a little bit that can help us do that and have students participate in French cultural events. We're really excited this year to have worked with Superintendent Mills to connect with a school from Lyon, France. And we have 15 classes in our board at the current time who are in a project called Link to Lyon. And actually, they were in here this afternoon. The teachers were meeting. And this project is where they are partnered up with French classes in Lyon, France. And the students collaborate and have opportunities to connect with their partner class over in France. Some of the activities that they've done, one school we're making recipes and about Canadian culture, that sort of thing, and made a cookbook and mailed it over to them before Christmas, and then they can connect back. We're trying to use a lot of technology to link. There's been a few difficulties with that, but they've also created YouTube sites, private YouTube sites, so that the school in France can post things and the school in Ontario or in Upper Canada can see what's going on there as well. So really the goal of this is to increase the speaking, reading, writing skills in a really authentic French situation. And that is something that the new curriculum really promotes, is that real world experiences in French. Of important note is we do have a teacher from Lyon, France, who's helping us coordinate this. She's here this year. She's being hosted at BCI at the moment. And in April, over Easter, for a week, we will have 13 students, 12 females and 1 male student, coming over and connecting with, they'll do an exchange with Rockland District High School over that week. So they'll have an opportunity to go to Montreal and Ottawa and also be at school and live with the English family. And hopefully maybe next year we'll have an opportunity to send some of our students back to France. So I think that's a really great opportunity. Other things that we're using to promote out into the community are the writing teams. We have a writing team for 3 online courses for grades 9 and 10. They're French courses. We've applied to the ministry to do this. We were accepted. And so we have a writing team, we have a steering committee team, and then we also have a consultation team that involves classroom teachers and e-learning teachers. And then we will submit these in the spring, in May, to the ministry. And our goal is to have, not only for our board, but for all boards, 3 online courses in grades 9 and 10 for French. So it will address some of those needs where if a small school doesn't have a cohort of students who are able to take an in-class French course or offer a French course, they will have the opportunity to take it online. So we're a real leader in that area. We also have a Twitter account. It's listed there, and we have encouraged principals and teachers to post things on that site as part of the sharing. And we also have a Desire to Learn, a D2L site for French teachers to post things and share across our board. So we're very fortunate to be advanced in that way. Our promotion of our French activities through the Facebook pages, and I couldn't get it to work on this, but I want to show you a little video of how French teacher uses a design and technology project, where it was a little Lego building project, and they were sort of doing it in a series, and each of the directions on the next steps were written in French by the students. So it was a real world example, and then it was shared through their Facebook page with everybody who wanted to see it. So it's that sort of connection with the real world, so students can see the value of having that second language when they go out into the real world. Of course, we have many of our schools that participate in École de Neige and École Verte. Something that we're working on expanding is the French co-op opportunities in secondary. If a co-op opportunity has to be connected to a school-based course, and there are lots of opportunities to do co-op in French, especially if you're sort of in the east part of our board. And when I was principal of a high school, we had students doing that. And actually, some of them even did it in the summer when they went to, they took opportunities to go into Quebec to do a co-op section. So some of the challenges that we definitely face is that we know as a school board, we must offer core French, at least one credit in core French programs in grades 9 to 12. If a student wants to complete a French immersion certificate, they must accumulate 10 credits in French. So there's the 4 immersion language credits, 1 in each grade level, and then 6 optional courses. And I think that's where we have the challenge, because not every school in our small high schools are able to offer those 6 credits on site. So maybe we have to look at partnering and some of these other strategies that I've mentioned. School boards do have the flexibility to decide what subjects are taught in French, so that is a bonus. Again, one of the guiding principles in the framework and in the new curriculum is a concept that FSL programs are for all students. So we really are encouraging the participation of French programs, and that the French classes reflect the diversity of our schools. And we need to examine this French participation to ensure that it is reflective of our school populations. Another example off our Facebook site, actually this was off a Twitter site, this is Catherine Noel at South Grenville District High School, and there were a few other pictures from there where it was clearly evident that there was big crowds of students in this. It was offered at a lunchtime, so students it was promoting the French language in a very fun and engaging way in their school. And as there are endless possibilities and opportunities, we need to continue to dig deeper into what we are doing and trying to address the need in our board, and looking for strategies supported by the province. And if you don't read French, the sign on the right side says, if a person who speaks 2 languages has, a rough translation is, has way more opportunities, 2 opportunities. So it's really important that we promote the French language within our system. So that's where we are at this point, and it is definitely something we're paying attention to and trying to grow.
Merci.
That's it.
You notice I exhausted it. Merci. Okay, I'm going to open it up to comments and questions. Trustee Kartner?
A couple of comments through you, Chair. I noticed that you're doing quite a bit of surveys with students and so on. I'm just wondering, or why they dropped out and so on. I wondered if you have considered having a survey for the guidance departments and the French teachers in our system, and find out what they are doing to encourage students to be taking these courses or extending the way. I think if the leadership starts to come from our staff, we might have a little more success. It may be happening, I don't know, but a survey might prove that to us. And secondly, has there been any discussions with the ministry personnel in French that because we live in a province, a bilingual province, that they don't make or they wouldn't make another credit mandatory in French?
It's for you, Chair.
We?
As upper candidate? No, not that we.
Okay.
Through you, Chair, in our, we haven't engaged in that conversation. Perhaps it's something that they are looking at, and it's certainly something that we can question, because we are on a regular consultation basis with the ministry about French language programming. So,
thanks.
Anyone on the phone lines before I do folks here at the table?
Trustee McPherson?
Go ahead, Trustee Wendy McPherson.
Thank you so much, Valerie, for explaining that. You did a wonderful job, and I'm so glad that this is on the agenda tonight. I have just a few comments. The presentation that you just did, it shows a lot of Parisian French influence, and I wondered if there's at all any efforts to do the joual of Quebec's French.
Through you, Chair. I would say, my response would be that our instruction, and I'm not a French language teacher, but our instruction is based on the Ontario curriculum. So we go with what is in that. And I would say that, I mean, we're very fortunate in our board that we do have that influence around us, and the students are able to go and use their French in their communities. Here in Brockville, I'm always amazed when I'm in a store in Brockville how much I hear French. So I think there is that opportunity, and I think the connection that I was referring to with Parisian is the one project where we're connecting with France. But I think there's a lot of Canadian and Ontario, Quebec emphasis in our curriculum.
Trustee Cram.
Thank you.
Chair, I have a question and a motion, and I know parliamentary procedure. Which one would you prefer first?
Let's go with the question, and when we've gone through the questions, let's come back to the motion.
Okay, thank you. Veux-tu la question en français ou en anglais?
I knew he was going to do that. Pardon-moi.
Is it possible for a student who has come out of the elementary immersion program going into high school, according to my calculations, and tell me where I'm out on this, if we offered in both grades 9 and 10, histoire, géographie, sciences, éducation physique et santé, and mathematics, in both of those grade levels, the student would have their 10 credits in French and their French certificate carried by grade 9 and 10, which seems to be the area that they're coming into the program anyway at, and then it opens up not just 12 credits for them, it opens up 18 credits for them. Is that a possibility?
Through you, Chair.
I didn't see that one coming, so it's up to you.
I just had the question coming as you were doing your presentation, that's all.
Through you, Chair. My response would be that French immersion is optional, and so we would have to provide programming that we were able to serve all those students in the school. So I think your calculations are correct. My concern would be, would we get enough students who would enroll in that?
Follow-up, Chair. My experience at the elementary level would be, with the exception of éducation physique and santé, these students are already taking all of those subjects in French to start with in the immersion program. And it would be just continuing in the grade 9 and 10. They would have their French cohort finished, and they could then concentrate on their other options, because I would guess that grades 11 and 12 is when the dropout really occurs because of university marks. Now they can concentrate in English for the university marks, but that's just a suggestion that I'm offering out.
I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Patterson.
Thank you, Chair.
Your turn.
No, I wanted to follow up, because I think, Trustee Cram, what you offer up is an interesting concept that should be studied. I know I don't have all the particulars of this, but as I understand it, one of the interests in delivering secondary program and ensuring that especially students in grade 9 and 10 earn their credits 16 by 16, the desire might be for them to take some optional programs in grade 9 and 10, which might speak more to their interests as opposed to the requirements. So, and then focus on the required courses in a more concentrated form at a later time. So whether the offering of a multitude of French courses meets that desire, that would be up to individual students. But I think it aligns with what you're suggesting. Thank you.
Trustee McDonald.
Through you, Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. If I can just add as well, we do have some schools that are exploring, or actually implementing options now, such as phys ed in French, to, again, try and encourage more involvement in French at those early years so that they will continue on.
Trustee Krim, I will come back to you. Okay. Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. I'll preface this by apologizing early on that I have frustrations around this particular subject. My frustration stems from, at one point I was in a situation living in the city of Cornwall and understanding the importance of having French in our community and offering French immersion to our students and seeing the dwindling effect of students dropping French immersion once they enter high school. And I was really, I recall this conversation with grade superintendent Ted Kennedy at the time saying, what are we doing? What can we do better? And at the end of the day, we get caught up in our hype to understand that French immersion is an important fact in our communities. It's an important fact for individuals, but it's a choice. But we have to respect the choice of students as they create or continue their journey in high school. And I came to that realization, and after some extensive hours from Mr. Kennedy to go back and give me information and try and appease me that we're doing things that we can, and I believe we are. I believe that we offer courses where we can. We entice students to come to our board by offering early French immersion in elementary. But at some point, we have to realize that choice factor takes over. And when we create the situation that students can, and we do have some students that graduate with the immersion certificate, that's their choice. And perhaps we can do some things to help a few other students because it becomes very difficult, just like grade 12 biology, and grade 12 physics, and music, and a lot of other courses. And for us to concentrate on French, we've done this. I've been a trustee for going into my 15th year, and it seems like we do this on a regular basis. The last time we did this, and really there's a continuum here because we haven't finished some of the stuff that we talked about. I go back to our previous board. In September of 2013, there was a motion by that board at the time to have a review of the delivery of French as second language programs in the Upper Canada District School Board to be conducted by the director within the context of SFL framework in Ontario schools by January 2014, within the context of the Boundary 2020 recommendation passed May 14th, 2008. Well, that report was written, and quite honestly, that report is very extensive, 18 plus pages with lots of charts. And I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. There's lots of information. And I think the important piece of the information that was there is the realization that as the students continue through, it drops. In 2013, the grade 6 students were only at 80%, 81% of the same amount of students or that cohort starting grade 1 for French immersion. If we look at the grade 9 cohort, there was only 35% of the students that would have started in grade 1. It gets even worse, 13% at grade 2. So it's there, it's been happening for a long time. And we have to understand that is going to continue. I'm not sure what else we can do to make that apparent to us in our communities that students have the choice to either take it as an immersion course or as an English course. And certainly, all the rationale in the sense of saying, well, you've spent all of your elementary years in immersion, you should continue to take history or histoire as histoire. Doesn't matter. They choose to take it in English. After this report, there were 3 recommendations in the report. 3 recommendations, and the report was brought to us almost a year to the day, last year at this time. Report back to trustees on the progress of the FSL plan provided to the Ministry of Education, including opportunities to establish partnerships with other international school districts in accordance with the provincial FSL framework. We're having partnerships. I'm not sure where we are aligned. Certainly there's new pieces of legislation or new curriculum. We also at that time had recommendations to build the capacity of secondary schools to address student retention in FSL. So we as a board, last year we said we would do that. I'm not sure where we are on that, and we're building some of these things I think in this report. As well, we talked about support additional elementary schools with consideration of parental and student interest and available school space that wish to offer whole school language instruction. That was the new terminology that we use, the whole school language piece. So basically opening up the opportunity for schools to offer French immersion. I think we have to understand that it is a tool for us to make sure that we have students come to us in elementary, but respect the fact that it's not going to continue. I'm repeating myself, but I continue to go on. That report at that meeting had many recommendations. So we approved those 3. We had subsequent recommendations, but the director presented last meeting in May a sequence of key result indicators and benchmark targets for the improvement of participation and support of French immersion in Upper Canada District School Board schools. I don't know that we've handled that yet, that we've identified key results indicators, and I think we should reevaluate and determine whether we have those key results indicators. Another recommendation that came out is that if there is to be a possibility of realignment to permit the introduction of early French immersion in some schools' communities, the director be asked to develop a rubric. And that rubric was put in place. We saw the report, came to us in June of 2014. It's happening. School communities are embracing it, and I think we've done a good job at that. I'm not sure how much more time I want to support for administration to try and convince high school students that they should take a course that they don't want to take. So I'm convinced that we're doing a job. I'm convinced that we've done as much as we can to look at the opportunities that we have for students. I think we need to look at some of the key results indicators potentially and revert back to that original motion recommendation that we had. So at this point, I hope that we can have some discussion. I hope that we see some information coming back to us at a later date. But I personally cannot support administration continuing to give us similar information, same reports, but yet expecting a different result. So, Mr. Chair, I'm happy with this. I hope we don't have to see it again for a while.
Chair, may I speak to this one?
Trustee McAllister, I'm sure you want to respond to this. Go ahead.
You have been waiting for my response.
I have been. We have been.
Well, I would like to preface my comments, first of all, with a number of issues. One, Trustee McDonald raises an historical perspective, which I think has changed in recent years with regard to because of the new curriculum, primarily. And secondly, Trustee McPherson, with regard to the old chestnut of joie versus French, using French, let's put that into bed, please, because I was born and raised east of Ottawa, and I was, I became bilingual there, and I've traveled a great deal in Europe, and people understand my joie or my French either way, and they think that it is very good. But nevertheless, I would like to comment on a number of things. So that's the other full disclosure I'd like to make is that I preface my comments as a teacher of French and French immersion for 32 years in the Eastern Ontario region. I applaud the realistic nature of the curriculum and the change in focus, which is based on both oral and oral, OR and AURL. I think there's a need for a mindset change. I don't mean to make a speech here, but really, there's a lot of misinformation going on. I think a caution that needs to be made is that we need, as a board and as a society, we need to downgrade and upgrade the expectations of parents and students. I do not think, honestly, that our students will become bilingual at the end of grade 12. That is an unrealistic expectation, unless a great deal of extra opportunities are taken advantage of. Malcolm Gladwell, for example, in one of his books, referred to the 1,000-hour rule. In order to become very proficient and expert in any issue, whether it be music or hockey or sports, one needs to devote a great deal of attention to the study of the subject. So the stats do not tell the real story. I guess my question really has to do with assessment. And we, as teachers of French second language, have not really done maybe as good a job as required in this area, because the perception is, and the reality perhaps is or was, that anyone who took French as a second language, and especially immersion as a second language, did not achieve the same results as someone studying English. And I think that perhaps is, to a certain extent, true. So that is one of the issues that needs to address. Right? And I'm wondering if Superintendent Allen could talk to that, please.
Go ahead,
Through you, Chair.
Superintendent Allen.
Assessment actually is one of the priorities in our board in every subject area, and looking at assessing students differently. I think that when I say differently, we're not about paper and pencil. We're trying to get away from having paper and pencil as our sole assessment tool. Conversation, a differentiated product, and observation by the teachers are all valuable pieces of assessment. So we're really working towards that. In terms of French, one of the big pillars in the new French curriculum is looking at that assessment differently. We're also part of a consortium from the Eastern Ontario Staff Development Network. They've been focusing on Français à Cour for 10 years now. Actually, I was just in a meeting, they were saying it's their 10th anniversary, and their focus is also on that assessment. Encouraging students to parler français, that is really what we want students to do. That's our ultimate goal. I think our instruction and the focus of the curriculum have shifted significantly to make that the goal of French language instruction, which I think in turn will increase student engagement in French. I think that, I went through school and we did a lot of verb conjugation and things like that, and I'm not saying that that's not necessary. It is, but I think the focus on the assessment of the oral language is really important. And I think, too, if we are putting our priority in assessment in all subject areas, if students are in French courses, or if they're in science courses or math courses, that focus on assessment should be equal in all of them. In other words, you're not getting a lower mark because you're in a French class. You know, our instruction should match the curriculum, and the assessment should match that.
President McAllister?
Chair, please.
Yes, go ahead.
The curriculum has changed as of now. It's a focus on oral and oral.
Right.
And, one of the things that we are trying to do, I've never promoted French as a second language in terms of job opportunities, because I always thought that was unrealistic. However,
Trustee McAllister, what's happening? You're getting a little bit garbled, so it's not difficult to understand exactly what you're saying. Can you just repeat that, please?
I'm just saying that the experience of people who are studying French in government is not very good. The government success rate has been very unsuccessful. So we have to be very careful about this. The thing that I'm concerned about right now is with regard to grade 10 and 11, and 12. We have lowered numbers. I received at a school council meeting at Gananoque Intermediate Secondary School presentation at a school council meeting by Matty Brown, who spoke very eloquently about the new blended model. And how can we use this blended model to achieve the goals of this curriculum and help our students succeed? I guess that's the question, Chair.
I think there is a question in there. Superintendent Allen.
Through you, Chair. I'm wondering, when there's a lot of uses for the term blended model, blended instruction, but we also talk about the blended model in blending the students when they're in the non-French immersion part of their day. So can you just describe for me what was referred to in that presentation?
Define the blended model.
I'll try very briefly, but the difference he was pointing out to us was that the difference between French and French immersion essentially was the number of hours. There was very little difference otherwise in terms of the quality of instruction. And I think it would behoove us as a board to have a presentation from someone like Matt Brown to explain that to us. But the point is that if we are looking at diminished numbers at a secondary level in French immersion and in French, there are some realistic explanations. One of them is the demands of the curriculum, the demands of the credit system for students. So I don't know. I think we have a lot of questions that need to be answered about this whole issue. The other one that I want to point out is, how are we as a board going to deal with teacher capacity in terms of developing the capacity of teachers to learn and to teach French in French, and to address the major goals of the new curriculum?
Through you, Chair. I think that's something that we've already started addressing this year, as I referenced the hubs that are happening at every 7 to 12 school or secondary school, where all of the French teachers are participating in ongoing professional development. It's a cycle. They have 3 sessions where we actually go to their school. It's called a French Learning Day. Every French teacher is involved, just not one French teacher, and have that expected to go out them to share with others on their breaks. It is targeted and organized professional development at their school sites. The focus is, the first part is on oral language, the second part is on assessment and evaluation, and thirdly on the CFR. And the third round of their cycle of professional learning is focusing on action-oriented tasks, real learning tasks. We'll also be having principal leadership teams involved in helping to deliver that third session to build the capacity of our principals in our system as well, and have them involved in that.
Trustee McAllister, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to ask you if there are other trustees that want to get involved in this discussion.
For you, Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Trustee Swan.
I'd just like to ask, how far are we away from being able to offer online learning to French immersion students?
We hope that we're very close. The courses that we're, through you, Chair, the courses that we're presently writing, we're hoping to be able to, that they would be ministry approved and be able to offer next year. And I think there are already consortium online programs, online French courses. We don't have any running in our board, but from our teachers, but our students can access through the e-learning consortium.
Thank you.
Secondary, please.
Go ahead.
And what grades would this be, Superintendent Allen?
Through you, Chair, I would imagine there's probably courses available at grade 9, 10, 11, 12. But most of our students don't start to take online courses till later on in secondary school, grade 10, 11, 12.
Well, I was specifically third question. I think I'm going to catch up to John or Mr. McDonald, but there is no option at this summer school then for them to pick up an extra French credit going from grade 8 to grade 9 at this point in time.
Through you, Chair, not through Reach Ahead at our board, no.
Okay, thank you.
Chair?
Hang on there, Trustee McAllister. I'm just going to see if there's any more, and then I'm coming back to you. Are there any other trustees? Trustee Cram?
I still have motion,
Yeah,
Chair.
we're coming to, you'll see how this all fits.
All right.
So I know where you're going, and it's not that I'm holding you back.
That's fine.
It'll bring it together.
I just don't want you to forget.
I could never forget about you, sir. Trustee McAllister, go ahead.
With regard to e-learning, I find it rather dichotomous. It's almost impossible to relate the goals of oral language to e-learning. How does one do this? Could someone answer that to me?
I think that's just a comment that I'm looking around.
No, it's not. It's a very serious question.
I'm going to turn that over to Superintendent Allen then.
Through you, Chair, I would have to further examine your e-learning courses and see what is involved in them. I'm not sure. I know there are courses in the province that have language labs attached to them, and that is how the oral part becomes assessed. But to be 100% honest, I'm not familiar with the French language courses that are offered through the consortium, so I couldn't describe them to you, but I could look into it if you want to know more.
Trustee Swan, did you want to come back to a question?
No, thanks. I was interested in the
Thank you
e-learning.
so much. Trustee McAllister, I'm going to give you just one more question. Want to move on?
No, thanks. I've had enough.
Trustee Cram.
Through you, Chair, I have a motion I'd like to put forward and looking for a seconder. And if you don't mind, I'll speak to the motion after I make it.
Thank you.
That the Committee of the Whole recommends UCDSB direct the administration to report back to the Board of Trustees in February each year of 2016, 2017, 2018 regarding progress of these strategies and include any key result indicators necessary to achieve positive results.
Okay, so we have the motion. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Trustee Kirkner, so I'm going to turn the discussion over to you. Talk about your motion, please.
Trying to wrap it up, I just think the administration has done a good job of putting together strategies for trying to improve the French immersion program, and we do have the new French curriculum coming out from the ministry. And I think it just behooves us to monitor that, both the courses and the results that we're getting from our students. And once a year, we get a report back from the administration as to how it's going.
Comments? Trustee McDonald?
I'll support this motion. I think it's important, the comment you have about the key results indicators. I think one of the original motions that we had last year was to identify those key results indicators. It's important for us to identify what does good look like, or what do we need to measure ourselves against. And we do have enough data. We've got a lot of data that we have, but it's important that when we do get the reports, it comes with an idea that the key results indicators are in place and that will be consistent. So at least we can have an indication of what one year looks like to the next.
Comments, questions on the telephone lines?
Yes, comment, please.
Yes, go ahead. Trustee McAllister?
I'd like to speak against the motion.
Go ahead.
I find that it really does nothing to promote the goals of the oral language with regard to the new FSL curriculum, and that once a year reporting is not going to give us any clue as to what's happening on a daily, if not weekly and monthly basis.
Trustee McDonald?
Well, certainly I think once a year is adequate for this particular one. And I think, I look at the delivery of French as a whole, and is it a systemic issue? Is it an encouragement issue? Is it a choice issue? Still steadfast that it's a choice issue, but the choice may change with the curriculum change. So I think that there's some necessity for us to make sure that we start to collect some of that data. If that doesn't do it, then, the horse is dead, let's not keep beating it. So I'm okay with this. I think it's a requirement for us to evaluate what the impact the curriculum is going to have.
Trustee Cartner.
I second this motion, Chair. I feel that it's important that we have the feedback, and there are a lot of strategies that have been brought forward in this report from Superintendent Allen. And I think we need to hear how they've turned out. I mean, there's no point in doing this if we don't learn something from these different strategies that have been put out there. So, the videos you're talking about, the French on Facebook, the surveys you're going to do. I think there's something there that we can hear about in a year's time.
Chair, may I make an amendment, please?
Just going to hang on for a second. I'm going to turn this over to Student Trustee Cruz.
Thank you. I'm actually a French immersion student. I'm in grade 12 French right now with the new curriculum. I find in the past years I've been able to read, write in French. I found this year, even in the first month of my French class, my speaking in French has become way better, and just with 1 month of the new curriculum. So I really think it's important what we're doing here, and I support the motion.
Thank you. Trustee McAllister.
If Trustee Cram would be amenable, I would support the motion if it were amended to include quarterly reports as opposed to yearly.
John, I appreciate the sentiment that you're having, but I think it's a lot of data that the administration would have to put forward in only every 3 months, and I think a year is probably better. You're only looking at February of 2016 when the ministry curriculum has just come in this particular year, I believe, and so you're going to have to wait until June to get any sort of data that you can start to collect, and that only gives September, October, November, about 6 months or 5 months to come back with the report, and I'm just concerned that if we push it to quarterly, we're asking too much.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to call the question. The motion that is before us is the Committee of the Whole recommend the Upper Canada District School Board direct administration to report back to the Board of Trustees in February of each year of 2016, 2017, 2018 regarding the progress of these strategies and include any key result indicators necessary to achieve positive results. I ask you to cast your votes, please. Trustee Cram?
It's still winding.
Okay, in favor?
Yes.
Trustee Guerra, are you online? Okay, the vote carries. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Could I add one more point? Sorry, through
Pardon
you,
me?
Chair. Can I add one little point?
You certainly can.
I have a great team behind me, and they're watching tonight. And so I just got a bit of information that will help about the online or e-learning courses that students audio tape. Some of the directions in the e-learning courses are audio tapes of teachers' directions, and the students audio tape their responses back and send them back that way through audio files. So that's just another little piece of information for that.
Trustee McDonald?
We have a Mohawk language lab in Cornwall that works quite effectively so that they're able to do that. So, I mean, language labs, although it seems difficult, they're out there, and Rosetta Stone makes a ton of money, so.
Okay. So, thank you. I'm going to put an end to this discussion. So, thank you so much for all the work that you put into this and the report. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, I want to move on to 6.04, which is a status report on TR Leger. And just to give a little background, the motion to the board initiated a review of the TR Leger in the spring of 2014. And it began with the retired Principal Janice Deacon. and was placed on hold in September 2014. A new motion was passed at the board December the 10th, 2014, and the review was then assigned by Director Charlotte Patterson to Superintendent David Coombs. So what we are going to hear at this point is a status report. It's basically is an outline of where we're going with this. Not a lot of information in terms of data to report because it hasn't started. But what we're basically going to hear is a status, an update as to where we're going. Okay, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is a high-level status report of the process by which we are conducting a review of TR Leger. I'm leading that review. We have begun looking at some data, but there's lots of data that remains to be collected. I've given you a little bit of a breakdown of the scope of the review, and we will be looking at again, this is fairly general and high level, but I think it accurately represents the major areas of our particular interest. I also want to point out that the review will also include a brief summary of alternative education around the province, and so some examples of other boards and what they do with alternative education, paying particular interest to those boards that have a similar geographic and demographic representation. So, for example, Ottawa-Carleton would have a different, being an urban site, an urban board would have different configurations of alternative education than a geographic board our size. Data collection is fairly interesting with TR Leger. There is some data which we've been looking at in the way of enrollment, certainly in the way of graduation, although it's very difficult to calculate, for example, graduation rate in an alternative school in the same manner which you would at a day school. But we are interested in looking at student achievement data, especially when it comes to the value add, because a lot of students who come to TR Leger have not had success necessarily in the day school system. And so we are looking at that gap and how what programs at TR Leger that kids subscribe to and how effective they are in helping students achieve their goals. I'd also like to point out that there really isn't very much data right now of the student voice from TR Leger. I find that really interesting. It's the only high school where we don't have Tell Them From Me data from. And I think this is, I guess, an exciting part for me of this review, is that we will be able to bring back the student voice as well as the parent and guardian voice of those children. I'd like to point out that TR Leger is our largest high school. It has our largest graduating class. And yet, I think in many ways, we don't have the same access to specific data that we have in other cases. So I'm quite looking forward to completing this review, and I would point out I'm not doing this by myself. I do have some eager participants who are helping me out both on the senior team and in the system. And the process also will encompass visitations to other boards that have a similar, again, geographic and demographic representation as Upper Canada. I'm expecting to have wrapped up the entire data collection by the end of April and be able to present to the board by the end of May both my data and recommendations based upon that. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Trustee McDonald.
With the timeline that you have, Superintendent Coombs, would it be feasible to affect any changes if we were to review them by the end of May for the coming school year? Or would we have to look at an opposite every year potentially?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Staffing, there will be any recommendations that would involve staffing would be a year ahead. By that time, the staffing process has been engaged, and we're down the road on staffing process. But I would think those recommendations would carry forward into actions over the course of the next year or two.
What?
So, your point, I guess, in the addition to the scope is the review encompasses a summary of alternative program delivery. I think it's important for us to look at it. You've got, program offering, program effectiveness, but I think delivery students are changing. And the fact that they're at TRLAG program hasn't changed, but how they learn we're better prepared to understand how students learn. So I think it's important for us to look at that delivery as a focal point, because I don't see the enrollment in TRLAG dwindling. That's, as you said, it's our largest high school. It has been, but that population isn't going down. We need to make sure that we meet the needs of all of our students, and these students in particular, whether they be returning to school or students who are looking for a different perspective to continue their high school journey. So I think we need to look at that particular piece, because we're more prepared, more prepared. We have more tools, I guess, in our arsenal to be able to deliver programs, and I think the delivery that we have currently is met the needs of kids back in the day, and there's potentially better things that we can do. So I hope that we look at that. And this has been a long-term process. I mean, I'll be grateful when we can complete it, because to look at any recommendations that we have that may affect staffing, we'll be into a bit of a tight jam, I guess, for the next year if we make those recommendations. But I guess at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're delivering the best program. So, fine, we get it right from the review standpoint, but if it could happen sooner, that would be good too.
Director.
I'd just like to follow up on some of the comments that Trustee McDonald has made. We are very fortunate, first of all, to have Superintendent Coombs leading the review, and he's working closely with members of the senior team and some principals as well. And I believe it's going to be a robust review that will assist us as we go forward. But I have to say that there is opportunity to make improvements outside of the review as well, because TRLAG is, as Superintendent Coombs explained, is our largest high school. And as one of our high schools in our Upper Canada system, the program delivery in that school and the alignment with the ministry initiatives and the alignment with initiatives such as equity and inclusion, mental health, the well-being, student well-being, the opportunity for strategies for closing the gap, which is one of the pillars of the ministry, and of course one of the objectives of our board or goals of our board. All of those things actually can be addressed outside of the review, and they are actually have begun to be addressed already. And so it's not that we're ignoring the results of the review. It's not that we're trying to change the data that Superintendent Coombs is collecting. What we're trying to do is ensure that all students in the Upper Canada School Board receive a quality program and experience success in that program. Thank you.
Mr. Partner.
Through you, Chair, the Director has basically answered my question. I was concerned about professional development that was happening within our board, and whether these teachers and instructors were involved in that professional development to keep up with the ministry directives. And so you've basically answered my questions as to that.
Other comments? Questions? Anyone on the telephone lines? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we look forward to see how this continues. Okay, moving on. The next item is a new standing item. This is the status update, selection and recruitment of the Director of Education. I just want to read something. I've given this a lot of thought. I just want to kind of open up with something that I've kind of put together. So as a trustee and as chair of this board, selecting the right director, a supportive leader who will help us move our students and this board into the future with confidence, and integrity will be one of the biggest and most rewarding challenges that I and we will make together. Our vision for leadership will be shaped by what matters the most to all of us in Upper Canada, what we truly value, alongside what the Ministry of Education values for the future of education. The goals of our strategic plan, in addition to the 4 renewed goals of the Ministry of Education as outlined in the Achieving Excellence document, will lay the foundation for the work that lies before us. It is a challenge that we will take very seriously. It is important that we do this right, not only for us as a governing body, but for the future of our staff, communities, and most important, our young people. We have a lot of work before us, and I am confident that collectively and collaboratively, we will make the best decision for the future of education in Upper Canada. This is a huge job. This is a very important job. And just on a side note, these meetings are very, very difficult to do when half the board is not here in person. I appreciate when people are ill and we're not here. I understand that, and I completely understand that. But we have a job that must be done face to face. We are going to have discussions face to face to be able to handle this very, very difficult and very important challenge that lies before us. I fully understand illness. Please, I get that. I understand when weather conditions don't permit. We must get trustees to this board table for us to be able to move ahead, especially in this important agenda. So having said that, I want to, I've added this to the agenda because first, I think it's very important that our community and that our school system knows that this is our mission, this is our goal, and that we will be following a sequence of steps to move towards that goal. As of tonight, we have now begun. We have now begun by first putting it on the agenda and basically serving a notice publicly, we're getting to work. Now, in that process, if you take a look at the information that was provided to you, you will see, if I can, I'm asking you to pull something up, I haven't got it here. There are 3 draft policies that really are the first step that we're going to have to deal with. They're in a draft format, and what we need to do is to bring these 3 policies in the draft format to the next board meeting, discuss them, and move them. So we're not going to do that right now, so I'm really just giving notice that these 3 are there, and that is going to be one of our focuses very, very soon. I will ensure that it's going to be sooner than you imagine. It'll be March the 11th. We're going to be looking at the role of the director in our draft policy, because it's very important that we understand exactly what we have in terms of a policy, what that director, what that role is, and that role will coincide with what the Ministry of Education says that role is. It's very clear that we understand what the role of the Board of Trustees, what our role is, and the third thing that is probably the most important of all these policies is the recruitment and the selection of the Director, Policy 1004. And what that does is it will outline the process. And the process involves many stages. One of the key stages is for us to hire a selection firm. And so we will very shortly be putting out tenders, or I've already had about 6 companies already try to get in touch with me, so we'll take a look at those. I don't mean a tender, but we're going to be looking at those to select the company that will do the absolute best job for Upper Canada, because it's important we do that. Now, there are some trustees who may want to say, well, why spend the money on that? They are the professionals. They are the people that are going to guarantee us 100% transparency in this process, because that is critical. And these people get paid to do the job that we ourselves don't have the skill set to do. So once we have got that, they will come in and they will help us set our vision. But as I said very much earlier, the vision that they're going to be set is not necessarily the vision of just us as trustees. It's the vision of the board. This decision that we're making is going to have an impact on every single person in this board. And so it's important that we understand what we, and when I say we, I mean all of us, value in Upper Canada. And so that will be at the forefront of the beginning of this whole process, is to be able to help define exactly who we are and what we value in leadership. So I just bring this forward as a standing item. I want to make it public record that we are beginning. I also want to make it very clear, because of the seriousness of this, we will not rush simply to fill a position, because it is imperative we do it right. Anything that is going to have an effect on every person in this room and every person in this system, including our kids, requires us to do this the right way. And we will. Any comments or questions? I should speak more often. Thank you very much.
For you, Chair?
Somebody there? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Trustee Swan, just clarification. So the selection firm that we hire.
I'm sorry, I just said we're just turning you up here. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So the selection firm we hire, or the interviewing firm we hire as a board.
Yes.
Will just be giving us recommendations, not be giving us their selection of who are in it.
No, maybe I should have made that clear. The decision of who this board will select as the next Director of Education will be made by the Board of Trustees.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Trustee Swan, for having me clarify that. Okay, I need a motion to move back into the regular board meeting. Moved by Trustee Cartner, seconded by Trustee Cram, who's seconding everything tonight. Cast your votes, please. And that's carries. Thank you very much. A report from Private Session Committee of the Whole, February the 11th, 2015. At the Private Session Committee of the Whole, February the 11th, 2015, 2 contractual matters were discussed and no recommendations were brought forward to the board. Report from the Committee of the Whole, Public Session, February the 11th, 2015. There were 4 presentations and 1 discussion item as was shared to the Committee of the Whole meeting, and the following recommendations were brought forward to the board. Motion number 1, that the Upper Canada District School Board approved a venture bylaw 14.35 to finance costs associated with the new North Granville District High School in the amount of $533,325. Do I have a mover? Moved by Trustee McAllister, seconded by Trustee Armour. Comments, questions? Thank you. Will you cast your votes? And that carries. Thank you very much. Next item, 8.02, a report from the Special Education Advisory Committee, SEAC. Do we have anyone here? Superintendent Allen, can you do that for us, please? Thank you.
Our last Special Education Advisory Committee meeting was held on February 3rd, 2015. We had a presentation on full-day kindergarten provided by Principal Anne-Marie Bolbeck, talking about the program and how the needs of special needs students are met in full-day kindergarten. As part of my report, I presented on the Minister's Advisory Council of Special Education and provided an opportunity for SEAC members to provide feedback, which we did receive a little bit and have sent that on to the Ministry. I also presented and spoke to the new Achieving Excellence document, a renewed vision for education in Ontario, making our CAC members aware of the document. And specifically, we started by paying attention to the center of the document with the student feedback and what the students felt as their needs, and then how these goals fit into our work as CAC members. And I also talked about three different training sessions for autism students, behavior management training, as well as applied suicide intervention training that was upcoming. And we also had a significant presentation on the CAC motion regarding the inclusive sports. And the CAC members had the opportunity to watch the half-hour section of the board meeting where that was discussed here at the board, and we're carrying on with that work as we move forward in CAC, re-looking at that motion about inclusive sports in Upper Canada.
Okay, I'm going to open this up to comments and questions. Is there an indication that because we've asked that to come back to board, will there be a report coming back from CAC on that specific topic? Because we needed more clarity and more understanding.
Yes, and through you, Chair, our goal at the moment is to gather some more information about sports across Upper Canada. At the April CAC meeting, Superintendent Coombs will be presenting on Upper Canada sports, and Superintendent Edwards will be presenting on other opportunities across our board for inclusive opportunities. And then the CAC members wish to define more about that. There are many different views on CAC itself, I would say right now, on inclusive sports. So we need to refine what it is that we're asking.
So it's an ongoing progress.
Yes.
And you really, in what you're saying, kind of was the reason going back. Okay, thank you. Open it up to comments or questions.
Yes, Chair, John McAllister here.
Go ahead, Trustee McAllister, then Trustee Cramp.
I have a comment and a question. One is that I think I would encourage the CAC committee to utilize its capacity with regard to advising the board. It is an advisory committee. And the second one is a question. I learned last weekend at the OPSA meeting that there was a CAC conference coming up in the near future, and I was wondering if our board and our CAC committee was going to be participating in this event.
Through you, Chair, we're aware of that conference. It was it just recently came through in emails, and it was forwarded to our CAC members, and we do have a CAC meeting on Tuesday night, so we'll be exploring that further.
Thank you, Trustee Cram.
Through you, Chair, would it be possible, Superintendent Allen, to give us a progress report in May? Will that give sufficient time for CAC to at least gather some clarification on it?
Through you, Chair? Yes, certainly.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure where we will be in May, but
It's just a follow-up from your comment that you were going to have a sort of a discussion in April about it to look, and I'm just curious as to where you'll be after that.
absolutely.
Any other comments or questions? Just a final comment that I'm going to make. I think, Trustee McAllister, I think you have a very valid point. The CAC is an advisory committee for us, and we value their input. We really do, and I think it's important that as an advisory committee, that they start to maybe increase their role in terms of being an advisory group for us. So I value what CAC has to bring to us. And I'm just sending that message back to CAC that we value what they do. We'd like to hear a lot more in terms of guidance and advice, because that is their role. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Report of the Ontario Public School Boards Association Director, David McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Trustee McAllister alluded to trainings for CAC, and that's something that's being put on by the ministry. And that's in recognition of 35 years of Bill 82. It's an amendment to the Education Act that really was the catalyst for creating CACs across the province. So that conference is on May 2nd, and it's open to a SEAC chair, supervisory officer, a district school board trustee, a new SEAC member, and an existing, rather than using the word old, SEAC member. So there is some limited funding associated, and certainly we encourage SEAC and individuals to attend that. The next item I wanted to bring to the attention of trustees is around the membership fees for OPSPA. This has been something that's been ongoing for a number of years with OPSPA reviewing the fee associated to being a member. The fees have remained frozen since 2009-2010. No inflation costs were added. The current model adopted was adopted in 1998 and constructed using a base fee plus enrollment data. So everybody would have a base fee of $9,000 and change, and based on your enrollment, you'd pay additional amounts of money. There was a cap associated to it as well, so you didn't pay more. So that's basically the Toronto rule. Based on past committee meetings and feedback of trustees, the ad hoc membership model committee was formed. There is a new structure in place that they're recommending, and I'll speak briefly to the structure, but I'll also advise you of the timeline. There will be an increase in the overall membership fee applied to the French Language Board, so we do charge a fee to the French Language Boards Association to be a member of OPSPA. Increase in overall membership fees to the 10 school authorities. All school authorities will now pay the same fee, regardless of the size. This is calculated by averaging the fees and applying a modest increase. There's an increase in the common base fee for all member school boards. It's going from $9,350 to $10,000. The rest of the OPSPA membership fees will be based on a consistent percentage, 0.635% of the board administration and governance funding. OPSPA membership model is to include a 2% annual inflation increase for all member boards to support an increase in costs and staffing. I individually support this, and I spoke previously at this board, and I speak all the time at OPSPA that we should be looking at increases. We have an expectation that OPSPA deliver a certain level of sophistication across the province to be the voice of public education, yet we give them no extra money, and they have increased costs on a regular basis. As I said, the funding model that we have for them has been frozen since 2009, 2010. We haven't had any increases in the budget at OPSPA. The work that OPSPA is doing around School Board Collective Bargaining Act is funded in a totally different perspective, and it's not part of the fee structure. So the process for reviewing the fee and looking to approval of that revised fees will be sent out in early April, along with the revised membership model and the 2015-2016 OPSPA budget. That'll be sent out to boards for review, and then in April 22nd or 23rd, I think it is, there's a board of directors meeting that we would be looking to have the approval for the new membership fee model. That's it for that particular one. And the final one, it was a very quick meeting, and certainly I'll allow other trustees to speak to their individual committees. As I said in the past, we're very rich at Upper Canada. We have trustees that represent us on program and policy and the First Nation section. So I'll allow those trustees to speak to their individual working committees. The last one that I wanted to talk about was the update on Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act. This is something that's been ongoing across the province since 2005. The Act came into place. It led to the development of a number of accessibility standards designed to make Ontario fully accessible by 2025. Standards were enacted by Ontario regulation, and they cover the following areas: customer service, communication and information, employment, transportation, design of public spaces. School boards first implemented the requirements for customer service in 2009 and continue to meet requirements, including ongoing training of staff. OPSPA, as a partner with the Ontario Education Services Corporation, took the lead and provide templates and resources and training modules to assist boards with the implementation. The Integrated Accessibility Standards Regulation. Since 2011, school boards have been involved in implementing the Integrated Accessibility Standard Regulation. in areas of information, communication, employment, student transportation, and we have engaged in widespread awareness for training of staff. 2015, the requirements for the IASR, the broader public sector, include school boards will focus on information and communications. Effective to January 2015, school boards will be required on a request to provide or arrange for the provision of accessible formats and communication supports for persons with disabilities in a timely manner that takes into account the person's accessibility needs due to disability and at a cost no more than the regular cost charged to other persons. This includes a requirement to consult with the person making the request, determining the suitability of an accessible format or communication support, and to notify the public about the availability of accessible formats and communication supports. Also, by January 2015, school libraries shall provide, procure, and acquire an accessible or conversion-ready format of print resources for a person with a disability upon request. We don't have to have the resources. We don't have to have them in the format. We have to have the capability to provide them if there was a request. OPSPA has communicated with member boards regarding these requirements, provide links to resources and support with the implementation. In this piece here, there is an audit somewhere. We need to focus on that. 2015 is also an audit year, though, for this. I don't see it on my notes now. Oh, school boards are required to file an online compliance report every 2 years. And 2015 will be the compliance reporting year for school boards. The questions will cover areas: ongoing compliance of customer service, written accessibility policies, multi-year accessibility plan, individualized emergency response information, inclusion of accessibility criteria and procurement process, training of educators in accessibility awareness with regard to program delivery, maintenance of records of general accessibility awareness, training for all staff and volunteers, provision of educational resources, student records, and program information in an accessible format, in consultation with parents of students with disabilities re individual school transportation plans. So there continues to be a great number of requirements associated to the AODA. One of the things that started back whenever this was first implemented was the built environment. There was going to be a requirement to have buildings more accessible. The built environment has been removed from the regulation format and is put into the building code. And in fact, the building code now really is addressing it from a significant renovation, significant change in the model. So they're not requiring every storefront to have accessible entrances until they go through a model. It would have been a major impact, and it is a major impact, quite honestly, when we do have renovations in schools to meet the requirements in the building code to ensure that all of our facilities are accessible. Certainly around the communication side of things, that there is a tremendous requirement for us to have those resources available, and it's not just in large print format. It could be in a context of people who cannot hear, can't see, come to a meeting. They need to be able to get print formats of something. Whatever the case may be, we have to ensure that we have the requirements in that. So that's information for the board. I think it probably would be useful that we build in to Management Council the status of our reporting back to the director on this process, and we get that back to the board before it actually gets submitted. Okay. That's my report, and certainly allow my colleagues to report on their work committees.
Trustee Cartner, do you have something you want to add?
Just a couple of things. I had sent out a survey to trustees and senior staff on Education Ontario, or Experience Ontario, and I don't know how many people responded to it, but if you did, thank you for doing that. The timelines were really tight for the presentations that were happening on this, and I'm hoping that there was some input from our board sent in. I definitely sent some in based on what I heard at our last program meeting and what I've heard around this table in conversations. We had a teleconference on February the 5th or 8th, I can't remember the date exactly, and we covered some of the Experience Ontario in private session because it wasn't public knowledge yet, but since then it had become public. in the consultations. We talked about the phys ed curriculum and the new curriculum that just came out recently on health. And we're having another meeting in May jointly with the policy committee that Trustee McAllister's on. So I'll report back on that. But we do have a regional meeting coming up on April the 11th. So try to put it in your calendars if you're interested. I imagine there'll be a few of us going to that. And it's in Petawawa or Pembroke?
Petawawa.
Petawawa, because there's a new school there and that's where we're going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee McAllister, do you have anything you want to add?
No, thank you. I believe my two colleagues have covered it well.
Thank you so much. Any comments or questions? Thank you very much. I'll turn this over to the student trustee, Shayla Cruz.
Thank you. So we had our last student senate meeting last Friday, so February the 20th. We had student trustee elections. So the nominees were Millie Close from BCI, Laura Huntley from North Grenville, Alex McIsaac from Rothwell Osnabrück, and Zir Zhu from Van Cleek Hill. I'm sure you all heard by now, but Alex McIsaac was the winner. He's a really great guy. I can't wait to introduce him to you guys. We're heading off to our first student trustee conference this weekend, so I'll have them all whipped into shape for you guys. We also did some team building and leadership activities, which is really great. We had leadership quotes up on the wall, and the senators got to choose a leadership quote and explain to us why the leadership quote was important to them. We did a lot of activities that included getting to know each other, and it really brought the energy in the room way up, and it really made for a great atmosphere for the meeting. We didn't have time for our family of schools discussions because the elections took up a lot of time. I had asked the senators to post on Facebook what was going on in their schools. I got a few comments back. A lot of the schools are doing like winter carnivals and dances right about this time. Something I thought was interesting is CCVS is raising awareness about anti-harassment, so I thought that was really cool. We got our Student Senate logo on a t-shirt, so we all got our t-shirts. This is Lisa's. Also, we just wrapped up our Teens for Jeans initiative. We collected over 400 pairs of jeans, which went towards homeless teens. Actually, more than half of them came from Seaway, so big bravo to Seaway. I'm so thankful for the awesome communities. I think that it really went well, and I also think that it really raised awareness about Student Senate and who we are. So I think that was a great initiative. Also, a side note, we have a little plaque from the Student Trustees Association for Upper Canada District School Board. It says, "Thank you for your support in the student voice." So thank you guys.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? I think, Sheila, well, I kind of made a joke. I should bring a bylaw for that no more kids from RO, because the last three of them from RO. I think we got to stop that. You're obviously doing great things down there, and you know that Alex is going to be a great addition. But I think you have really set an example of what good leadership is, and every time I go to those meetings, I'm very proud of what you do, and I just stand back and watch. And you're an amazing leader, and I thank you for everything that you do for us.
Thank you.
Okay, Director.
Yes, please.
Okay, next.
We're not doing.
I'm going to go to private.
Whoops.
Private?
We're going to do the remarks first and then go to private?
Oh, that's right, we got to go into private.
Say a few things. Can I say one thing and then?
Do you want to say one thing, and then we got to, are we coming back out of private, and then?
According to the agenda.
Sure.
I'm going to get the remarks done now, and then we're going to go into private.
Okay.
Everyone okay with that? Because I've already jumped the gun. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just quickly, I wanted to celebrate that Native students from across our board came to North Grenville complex on Monday and Tuesday of this week. They were called, it was called Native Student Leadership Days, and they were learning about their cultures and their celebrations. They were talking about the barriers that they experience and the challenges that they face, both in their schools and in their communities. And they were also looking ahead to opportunities and improvements that could be made in schools in Upper Canada, in communities in Upper Canada, and in the Canadian society as a whole. There were a couple of native facilitators there from Algoma. They are, I guess, true friends of Upper Canada. They've been involved in the past. And I particularly want to acknowledge and recognize the leadership of Susan Edwards and Lori Taylor, Bill Montgomery, and of course Gail Brandt-Terry, who you met this evening. So it's a wonderful initiative that when we are certainly supported by the ministry in advancing the positive situation for our First Nations students. And on a side note, it was wonderful to I recognized some familiar faces from Student Senate at the Native Leadership Days, so it's wonderful to see those students really stepping forward in a number of different venues, so that's great. Well done to everyone, thank you.
Thank you, Director, and I intentionally did it in this order because I knew when we move into private session that we may lose the webcast. And what I want to do is defer my comments, and I don't normally do this, but this is a very important topic, I think, and I want to let the second vice chair have this moment and do a comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. And I don't typically participate in this, but I want to draw your attention to something that has started, a campaign that has started at Amherst Corners Public School. It involves a young student who is diagnosed with leukemia. Sean was out of school, went away for the Christmas break, came back to school, and was quickly and suddenly diagnosed with leukemia. The school, the staff, and one particular teacher, Ingrid, and I'm gonna John Travolta her last name, Sindel, is really the spearhead behind this. About a week ago, started a campaign called Kisses for Sean, Yellow Kisses. And her campaign is to draw awareness to Hershey's Canada and create a yellow Hershey's Kiss that would raise awareness for cancer, more particularly leukemia, and proceeds that would help support cancers for children and leukemia. And raise awareness for Sean, who's battling this disease, and his family is certainly battling this disease. She started this about a week ago, I guess, sent out her first piece of information. She has almost 6,000 likes on Facebook. The importance of likes on Facebook. There's 6,000 in a week. She has a Twitter account established. The communication is remarkable. I encourage all and everyone to support it, the campaign. It draws awareness of this dreaded disease that impacts families across our board on a regular basis. Sean's story is not particularly unique, but he is. I think he's quite a fighter. I don't know the individual, but I hope to get a chance to meet him and his family. But just to give you an example, this young fella has been battling something. And I said earlier, he was away from school, came back, was diagnosed. He was at the school today and shot a video to help raise awareness. So that's an important piece. I mean, he's committed to helping others. He's battling something on his own. His school community has been amazing to support him. Amherst Corners is a special place. It's near and dear to me, and certainly it's something that we all should help and support. And hopefully we see a yellow Hershey's Kiss in the very near future. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for that opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to the Vice Chair, who's going to take us into private session.
Thank you, Chair.
But as soon as we get the motion, then.
And I'd like a mover and seconder so we can move into private session, that the regular committee of the whole in private session approve. Oops, sorry. You make the motion, not me. You make it.
Oh,
yeah.
Where is it?
Through you, Chair?
Hang on for a second here, that we're just,
Do we not need a motion to go over 10 o'clock?
8 to 11.
Okay. Just to make a motion to move in.
Need a motion to move into private.
Motion to extend first.
Okay, yes, first I need a motion to extend for, how long do you think?
10 minutes on this one?
Yeah, motion to extend to 10:15.
Okay, motion to extend to 10:15, moved by trustee McDonald, trustee Cram. Cast your vote, please. Oh, just moving. Show of hands, all in favor, thank you very much. Okay, I need a motion to move into private session, moved by trustee Armour, trustee McDonald. Those in favor, just show of hands or say something. Thank you so much. We're moving into private session. Into private session, so we'll have those who should not be here to vacate, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, and you can go home.